Hi Gary, how you doing? Yeah, we are keeping well here. We're all good. Willow is at the moment. He is actually curled up in one of my sleeping bags, next to Kaz, looking like the lord that he is, really comfortable. So, Gary, this one in is actually partially for you, mate, because you were asking me about knives, and I sat and tried to do a video on it, and actually talking to myself was a bit more difficult. I was watching Bushcraft Rebooted live as I regularly do. Great American channel, absolutely fantastic, and this is the format he uses. So you're not looking at him; you're looking at whatever he wants to show. So what I thought I would do today is I'd do like a bit of a prepping live. So I thought what I'd do, I've got a selection of bits and pieces out. Something I'm regularly asked is what's the difference between methylated spirits and acetone or nail polish remover. So I've got two stoves out, which I've loaded up already with acetone and methylated spirits. So in a bit, we'll do a burn on those, see what the difference is. FU crew, hiya, mate. We'll do a burn on those in a bit and see what the difference is there. I got a thank you to put out for that from my mate John, who sent me that, which works alongside that, which is brilliant. And we'll eventually get into knives. But again, because of YouTube's rules, I can't show you knives straight away. Now, that's quite a sensible protection thing. And hi there, Lawrence. Happy New Year to you too, mate. In the old days, you could just go live and show anything, and it would go straight up live. And unfortunately, bad people were using that as a way of broadcasting bad shit. So if you start a YouTube live showing knives, firearms, and so on, the computer system shuts it down, which is fair enough. Oh, brilliant, Lavu. Brilliant, Lavu. So we will get into that in a minute. Yeah, so options. And I'm going to try and follow the comments and keep you entertained as best I can. I'm sorry, there's a bit of a crutch shot there, but the table's got a cut out. I do apologise. It's a bit cramped space in here at the moment. So, right, let's start basics. Basics fire, basic heat, basic warmth, the basic materials. One of the issues with most of our firelighting and cooking methods are we like to go back to the primitive. We do like to go back to the primitive. It's a great way of doing things. So we go back to things like stick fire, basically, in whatever form you're going to use it. Okay, lighting a natural fire, and quite often for that we're going to go with a cotton wool ball. Okay, so and I'm not going to bother lighting it and showing it unless anybody asks to be shown it. But a cotton wool ball, it's a simple thing. Pack it in a little plastic bag like that, fluff it out, and it makes fire. Cheers, Gary. It makes fire. It's simple. In fact, actually, we will. It's simple. It's easy. That will ignite straight away. Cotton wool, we know that. You can add a little bit of hand sanitizer gel to it. Give it a little bit of a squishing in there, and you've just created a candle. And you can then take your lighter, and away you go. You've got a bit of heat. You've got a bit of fire. That's going to burn for a couple of minutes. It'll ignite in almost any conditions. Combination of the alcohol and the wool will burn quite readily and give you quite a decent amount of heat. So that will start your stick fire. Now, that does tend to require an ignition source. So we come back even further still to ignition sources. Now, recommended, right? The method I say to everybody carry is a lighter. Always have a lighter with you, because let's face it, it's fun to practice your rubbing two sticks together. It's fine to practice with flint and steel. It's fine to practice with all those methods, but the reality of it is we're actually trying to practice for an emergency situation. And in an emergency situation, yeah, nothing's going to beat a cigarette lighter. Hiya, John, how you doing? I'm good, mate. I'm good. Yeah, so terracotta pots and candles. Yes, it works. It radiates the heat. It uses basically what you're doing is you're heating the terracotta. The terracotta becomes a bigger area holding heat, releasing the heat. There are many methods for doing it. It does work. It won't heat a room. People say to me, "Oh yeah, I'll use it to heat the whole house." You won't use it to heat the whole house. But any heat's better than no heat. Even a small flame like that on a bitterly cold day when you can't use your fingers because you're that cold, that little bit of heat there is going to give you that ability to warm your hands and start to use them. Okay, and that's in survival situations and emergency situations, that's a priority. You're always looking at the next step, and it might be a small step. Quite often it is a tiny step, but it's that little step that makes a difference. It's little steps that will get you to your end goal. Now look at that. I've even got a pair of tongs with me today. So I should move that over there. Okay, so we'll let that go out over there. Yeah, so it's the little steps, it's the little methods, it's the little movements. I mean, even things like, so the UCO candle, we'll come back to that for a second. So the UCO candle, okay, it's not a huge amount of heat that comes off that, but the heat that does come off it is absolutely essential, or can be essential to a survival situation. Again, that ability just to warm your fingers, your limbs up, get yourself able to take the next step. And courtesy of my mate John, in fact, I'm not going to put it in there and light it, but I got the 9-ounce candle there, but my friend John actually sent me that over from the US, okay, which fits inside there. Yes, I've got to clip the wick down. It's a little bit smoky and that at the moment, but yeah, I will be doing that. In fact, I'll actually probably let the wicks burn down a little bit. That works nicely. That's cleaned up. So again, that combined with the UCO candle, endless amount of heat, and it is just a small amount of heat, but that small amount of heat is essential. Okay, it's fine if you can warm the room up, but sometimes you can find yourself in situations where you can't warm the room up, and that small amount of heat, that small amount of generated warmth that you can get into your fingertips or into your gloves or into your hands is going to make all the difference, because if you lose the ability to use your hands, you're stuffed. Frostbite does occur. It hits the fingertips and it can be a real swine. Not that I've ever had frostbite. I've always been taught to avoid it, but I have had hands that have had frost snip, which is the first stage. Right, that's a whitening of the hands. That's where you're starting to lose that ability. So we can go on to the next step of cook sets or preparing heat. So Max Outdoors makes these. What's that everybody's saying? Max Outdoors makes these, and these are his heat rocks. And basically, that heat rock, there we go, is a I forget, it's like a soapstone at the end of the day, or a pumice stone. There's 3 of them in there. You keep them in methylated spirits or denatured alcohol if you're American. And again, look at that as a heat source. You put your cooker over that, or use it in an emergency. Warm your hands, start warming the space around you. There's a lot of heat coming off that. It's absolutely perfect. Works well for me. Just check the camera's not right above it. And yeah, it's a very efficient way of carrying fuel, using fuel in a reusable system. And once there's 3 in there, once that one's burnt out, I can just swap it out with one in there and drop that cold one back into the methylated spirits, obviously making sure that it's cooled down. It's not the fact that it could reignite the methylated spirits that I'd be concerned about, or the denatured alcohol, but it's the fact that if it's still hot and I put it back in there, it will instantly increase the vapor rate of the alcohol whilst that pot's open, and you're losing that vapor, and it's the vapor that's burning, not the stone. So again, it makes it a very efficient system that works very, very well. So, hi John, hope you're good. Gary, yeah, excellent. Terracotta pots, any good with the candle? Put a terracotta pot over that, mate. EDC Patrol, hello, mate. Yeah, and I've got to say a big thank you to Bushcraft Rebooted. So, this is the format he uses, and yeah, I'm just giving a bit of a nod to him and sort of copying his method so that the concentration is on what I'm doing, trying to make my lives a little bit more interesting for you guys when I do gear and that, because I have had people in the past say, oh, it was a bit boring, didn't enjoy that. Um, just from a common sense point of view, you see, I am taking precautions today. I have a handle on that because I am generating heat, and I'm just going to lift that up on there and hold that because I don't want to burn my surface. Yes, that is the work mat for an Remington 870 pump action shotgun. Why? Because Mickey used to have one, and it's always worth having the armourer's mats when you're working on any of your firearms. In fact, for many years I had a drawer with a stack of those mats in for everything that I owned, whether it be when it was legal to do so, pistols, rifles, shotguns, and so on. So when I was doing servicing or repairs, I could literally lay that out. And if I suddenly, which was very rare, but if I suddenly thought, oh, where does that pin go? It's all down there for me, right where you want it. Hi, folk. Yeah, Happy New Year to everybody. Lawrence, yeah, I the UCO, or the UCO. For years, I looked at them, and I've got to be honest with you, I'd looked at them at shows and things like that and thought, oh, they look a bit tinny, a bit 1950s tool or toys, and I would probably break it. And in actual fact, I finally bit the bullet and bought one, and I have no regrets. In fact, I wish I'd bought one years ago, even with the 9 hour candle. Okay, and it is a 9 hour candle for that little bit of heat and light that you might want for the romantic moment, or even if everything went wrong. It's a brilliant bit of kit. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've had that one, John. Ping. Oh no, what was that, and where did it go? Magnets. I will say, especially if you're working with small things like firearms, watches, or anything like that, always have a magnet on a bit of string. It's a saving grace. Fixing the car, motorcycle, anything like that. If it's metal, make sure you've got a magnet on a bit of string, because if you haven't, yeah, it can be a bit of a nightmare down on your hands and knees trying to find it. And you see, this fire rock's still going strong. Um, so what does he do? Basically, he's got this. It's this soapstone, or it's actually, I believe, a pizza stone, and he cuts them out. He cuts them out, has a pill bottle, and away you go. Um, yeah, and it works just as well on acetate or acetone as it does on the methylated spirits. Now, I did a bit of research on this because somebody did get hold of me the other week and said, "Oh, methylated spirits is illegal in the US," and I thought, "That's surely not, surely not." Now, doing my research, denatured alcohol and methylated spirits are exactly the same thing. They are exactly the same formula and system. It's just that in the UK we call it methylated spirits, and in Australia we call it methylated spirits. In the US it's called denatured alcohol. Um, in the UK and a lot of countries associated with the UK, the requirement is that it's dyed purple, and that was done from a taxation point of view, so that you could see that it was methylated spirits people were using, and you could also identify it from other forms of alcohol if people were drinking it, because denatured alcohol and methylated spirits in their purest form, not that they're good for you, that they're ethanol. Okay, could be mixed with something to make a alcoholic drink, which happened a long time ago, although it did cause a lot of blindness, I will say, because it's ethanol. Now, what they did was to defeat that in the 1920s, they started to put mild toxins in it that will cause you to vomit and make it taste bitter, and they also coloured it, and that was again to stop those situations occurring. So in the UK, yeah, it's that. In the US, it's clear. You can buy denatured alcohol in the UK. The other thing that's added to methylated spirits is a scent. Now, that scent is supposed to put people off of it. I actually quite like the smell of it. It's just one of them weird things. Perhaps I'm just a bit broken there. But again, I would never suggest using denatured alcohol or methylated spirits in any form or manner as booze. It will make you go blind. It will mess you up. It's not good stuff. So I'm going to let that burn itself out. I'm going to then move that and we'll get on to our little test with the methylated spirit stoves. So I've got two stoves here, both Trangier, or one's a Trangier, one's a very similar copy of the Trangier, so they're pretty much uniform. And as I say, one of those has got methylated spirits in it, one of those has got acetate in it. Acetone, not acetate. Okay, acetate does burn well as well, but acetone is the liquid form. It's nail polish remover. Now, why would you use that? Why would you use nail polish remover? Well, it's a fact that it's cheap. Okay, it is cheap. I can buy a bottle of that like that for about £1 in the pound shop, and if I look for deals and look round, I can buy it even cheaper than that. Methylated spirits is expensive. Okay, now I've never actually compared the two in a burn test side by side before now, so it is going to be interesting to see. I use both. I use the acetone because it is cheaper, because I am a tight-fisted git, and I also use it quite regularly. So if it's a case of costs, I want to try and keep those overheads down. Again, part of prepping, every penny you can save is a bonus. It's a part of your prepping skills. I'm going to sit that up on that titanium stove down there. So that is out of the way. And, see, didn't burn my fingers. Nicky trying to be clever today. Just check the bottom of that, make sure it's not going to melt that, which it isn't. I'm not worried about these two stoves melting it. Again, so for those of you that are new to spirit stoves, that's how your spirit stoves come. Now, mine are fueled up already. Okay, you've got the top ring here, that's your simmer ring. Okay, it's also your snuffer. So you keep that hand there, close like that, drop it over, puts it out. Okay, and then always allow that to cool before you put the lid on. There's a rubber ring in it. The simmer ring is there. So basically, you do have an element of control over the temperature on the flame. So if you were doing something and you wanted to slow the heat down, you can do. Okay, they ain't the greatest, but they do a reasonable job. In your methylated spirit stoves, and I like to keep mine loaded, so they're ready to go. That's the methylated spirit one, I believe. Oh, no, that's the acetone. Okay, so in the acetone, there is a seal in here. Okay, that goes over the vent holes there, locks the whole thing down, and it means you don't lose your spirit if you're traveling to your camp. So you can preload this before you go out. And again, it's the sort of thing I would preload through the day. If I was in really cold conditions, bitterly cold conditions, sometimes it can be difficult to ignite these spirits. Okay. Tip here is you seal that up and you put it inside your clothing. Okay. By carrying that inside your clothing, it brings that up to body temperature and will allow it to the vapor to come off a little bit quicker. When it's bitterly cold, it slows the vapor rate down, which can make it a little bit of a swine at times to ignite. In this one, and this is a Trangier one, this is one thing I do think is a bit different on the Trangier, and I'm not so keen. That could do with being longer for a start. Okay, but it's quite a well-made lid, and again, you should have a rubber seal in there, which I don't appear to have. I wonder if it's going to be under there. No, in actual fact, I don't have a rubber seal under there. No, you have the rubber seal inside there. So, on my right, your left, methylated spirits, you can see it's purple. And there we have acetate, or acetone. Stop saying acetate, Nick. Acetate is a form of plastic, okay, which we're going to come into in a minute. We'll have a look at that. So, igniting these in cold weather, a match or a stick, okay. Now, when I say a match or a stick, if it's bitterly cold, what you can do, drop a stick in like that, give it a second to take it out, hit it with a flame, all right, and then put your stick back in. The heat generated by the burning wood will help to ignite your spirit. So here we go. I'm not going to be able to do these both exactly the same time, and there is slightly more methylated spirits in there. So let's try and balance these out. Okay, that's then balanced out. So roughly the same amount in both. Okay, that's the acetone lit, that's the methylated spirits lit. Now, so straight away, I would say to you that the acetone, as you can see, has already got a slightly larger flame. Now, when you light your spirit stove, it's going to ignite in the center. Now, how it works is pretty much it heats these walls. There's two walls there, and there is the holes here. The fluid covers the whole base. As it heats those walls, it heats the air inside. The air inside creates a higher vapor rate. That higher vapor rate then creates a bloom through these holes, and that is your cooking surface. That is what you're really cooking upon. I'm just going to move these stoves out of the way, and I'm going to let those burn quite happily. So as you can see there, the methylated spirits burns with a very clear flame. It's come to bloom quicker. Hopefully, if I turn these lights down, let's turn these lights down, you should get a better view of it. There we go. So the bonus is there. You can see how we're starting to get a bloom there. It's panting at the moment, where it's fighting to come to bloom. But there we go. The acetone should come up in a minute. So the acetone, I would say, although it's got a larger flame, probably has a lower vapor rate. I'm trying not to breathe on it. Probably has a lower vapor rate. So it's burning from the centre of the pot. Although I can see it in the odd spot, it's starting to try and spread out and bloom on the edges. Now, is that really important? No. You've got a flame there. You can cook on it. It will heat your water. It will cook your coffee. It will do what you need. It's a more powerful flame than the methylated spirits. Stop breathing on it, Mickey. Keep blowing it out. Yeah, there we go. How's that? Right, whilst that's doing its thing, I'm going to go back to the comments. Happy hopping. Hi, log hoppers. Hope you're good. And I know you're fans of the old acetone. Bioethanol. Yeah. Yeah. Bioethanol works. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's it, John. Any magnet will do. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's lots of dodgy vodka out there at the moment. Don't buy any cheap vodka. It's very, very dangerous. Yeah. Hey, no problem, lockhoppers. You have a great day, mate. Yeah, it's just out of interest. I've never done them side by side. Now we're starting to get a bloom on the acetone. Um, no, it's gonna, John. The acetone does create a little bit of soot. Okay, I don't think it's a massive amount because I can't see any smoke coming off of it. What we'll do, we'll do. It's very bright, but it's fairly clean. So we'll do like a 3-second test on that. We'll, without burning my fingers. Let's have a look. Right, the interesting thing is I'm getting a lot more heat off the acetone, but no, not getting a lot of soot. Not getting a lot of soot at all. Especially now it's coming to bloom. So there you go. So the acetone, no real soot coming off of it. That's come to bloom. It's taken a bit longer to come to bloom. So I would say it burns at a lower temperature and a lower vapor rate than the methylated spirits. However, it's definitely got a more powerful flame. The methylated spirits is obviously, or denatured alcohol is going to be refined a lot further. Hopefully you can all see that okay. I've got no idea what the image is like for you guys. I'm sort of looking at my screen, but I've got quite a low resolution on my screen, so hopefully that's coming up okay for you. Out of the two, it's just made me realise that I'm probably going to use the more acetone these days than the methylated spirits. Yeah, what I'm going to do, mate, I'm in fact, actually, I can be honest with you. I tell you now, that acetone's going down quicker. It's going down quicker than the methylated spirits. It's definitely burning fast. In fact, what I might do, I might just leave those to burn themselves out and just keep nattering. Just keep nattering. Or what I'll do is I'll move those to one side so you can see them. And the first one of those that goes out, we will see where we go. But you can see the blooms working. The acetone definitely throwing out more heat. So there you go. I mean, my stone's now cooled down. So what we'll do, we'll take the stone out, drop the stone back in there, seal the pill bottle up. Okay, brilliant idea there from my mate. Absolutely fantastic. Any of you that want a set of those, you can, if you get hold of Out with Max, get hold of his channel, send him a message, let him know that you want them. He's quite happy to make them for people. It charges a small amount for them, quite a fair amount. Yeah, and he's quite happy to make those for people if they want them. So, getting back to acetone and acetate, why do I keep saying about it? Well, it's because there's a lot of talk at the moment about these. Okay, now these are they're sold as glass firelighters. They're not glass firelighters. They're acetone. Okay, I did a little bit of research into it. It's acetone. It is a form of plastic, okay, or an acrylic, and it burns very readily, quite slowly, gives off a huge amount of heat. Okay, they used to make things like spectacles, glasses, frames, and things like that out of it. They don't anymore for an obvious reason that you'll see in a minute. But they do. You can buy them quite cheaply through Amazon and that. The downside is they're clear. If you drop that in the woods, you're probably going to lose it. But as a firelighting source, and I'm going to try and, there we go, hit that with a bit of flame, get that lit. Let's drop that in there. Let it get going. It starts to spit and hiss. Well, I say spit and hiss, it crackles. But you can see that's working quite readily as a firelighter. It's not huge, and that as well doesn't give off any smoke. There's no smell from it. It's quite a weird one. It sort of beats the brain because your brain says it's plastic, it's going to give off, it's got to give off, it's going to smell, it's going to be noticeable. It's not. It's one of those things. Just check underneath that. I should be all right, but just gonna make sure. Yeah, it's one of those things our brain sort of goes, it should not actually work in the way it does, because we always think of plastic being a pollutant, giving off loads of smoke and so on. And as you see now, as the heat builds on it, it creates quite a high energy. Now, they take a little bit of lighting. It's one of those things you are not going to ignite with a ferro rod. You're not going to get it going with anything like that. You may even, if it was poor conditions, struggle with a match. With a cigarette lighter, not a problem. Would I carry them in my survival kit? Well, for the size of them, I'd probably keep a couple in there for anywhere where I was in easy conditions to use them. But other than that, probably not. To be honest with you, there are a lot of other methods I could use that would be easier to ignite, and that's one of my thought processes on that. Is how easy is it to ignite? Because it's great having this, and it is quite a long burn. But if I'm going to struggle to ignite it, that's going to be an issue. It's going to be a drama. It's not something I want. I'm just going to turn those around that way so you can see that a bit better. Right. Yeah, so the nail polish remover, yeah, the acetone, it's, yeah, as you can see, it's working quite efficiently. I mean, how do I see meth stoves? For most of my meth stoves are for things like brews, okay? I tell you, if I'm going to be, yeah, I've cooked steak on them and all the rest of it. I've used the Trangier, great bit of kit. But most of the time, I'm carrying a meth stove with me for brews. And as you can gather from this, for making a coffee, heating water, yeah, look how long it's been going. Look at the heat generation, the BTUs that have been given off. I can't measure those here. But yeah, it would definitely work. And for the room itself here, having these two going in this room, the temperature has shot up. It is if you were, should we say, if you were in a small bothy or something, and it was really, really poor conditions, yeah, making your brew is also going to warm the room. It's going to bring it up a degree or two. Yeah, it's going to help. If you have plenty of fuel resources with you, yeah, it would really, really help. I probably put a bit too much in both of those, but I wanted to fill it to a standard that I normally use, and give you a fair test of the two. Yeah, impressed with that. Quite, in fact, more impressed with that. So there, that little glass firelighter or acetone firelighter or acetate firelighter is now out. So acetate, acetone, as you can gather, very similar things. That is just a hard form, really, of, or plasticized, polymerized form of that. Now, smell. I can smell the methylated spirits. There is that methylated spirity smell. It's not immensely strong, but I can smell it. The acetone, yeah, there's no real smell from that at all. No smell at all from that. Likewise, if you were covert, as you can see from this, if you were trying to be covert, not seen, the acetone gives off a lot more light than the methylated spirits. If you imagine a stove being up over that, having it within your cook system, methylated spirits, one of the bonuses with that is you are probably not going to be spotted or seen. It gives off very little light in comparison to most other forms. Yes, so there's that. There is that. I'm going to get onto knives in a bit. So that's brews. Brews dead easy. Mickey's go-to, especially when he's working at the moment. Let's put me a little patch out there. So I did like that patch. Cat's got me that patch. Made me laugh. Might see if I can get a t-shirt. All right, I'm just going to open the window because the temperature is really coming up in the room. And I also want to make sure I've got plenty of oxygen in here. Because again, this is only a small room. And I'm creating carbon monoxide. There we go. Get a bit of airflow. Oh, yeah, that's going to work. Oh, I haven't timed it, and the fill level for both of these was what I call my standard. So it was about 2/3. So it's about level. Let's get a pointer. Let's use a pointer. Let's see if YouTube cuts me off now because I'm going to get a blade out. So basically, I filled it to just below this level, which is what I normally do. I normally just come under the level of this ring. So you're looking at, yeah. Burn times, I'd have to go back and have a look on the live and time it. But again, it was just because we're doing a live, it was a case of set it up and run it. And again, there are many, many variations of these pieces of kit out there, and all of them are good. I mean, there's you can buy these on Amazon. I believe this one might be a Lixada. That's a titanium stove. That's a titanium spirit stove. Now, when you're looking around at your spirit stoves, you'll see lots of spirit stoves like that. Now, they're very, very good, but they've got one downside. That has no lid, no top on it. Now, this is a very, very good titanium stove, and it has a double ring system, and it generates a huge amount of heat. Why do I not use it? Well, it's quite simple. I can't cap it. I can't close it down. I can't shut it off. The bonus with these, once I've made my brew, I can use the snuffing ring to shut that down, allow that to cool, put the lid back on, and I've got resources to use later. I can also preload them and carry them loaded. So I'm not getting somewhere shivering, freezing cold, having to open it up, go to my bottle, measure the fluid into it, and then light it. You're not going to get 2 or 3 hours out of them, Gary, but basically, as you can see from the amount of time we're running, I'm quite sure you're going to get 15 to 20 minutes of heat off them on a fill. And when we're talking fills, we are literally talking a bottle like that of methylated spirits will definitely last you a night. Okay, you would definitely be able to keep that going all night. The other thing is having those resources with you. You could probably ignite a fire. You could create a fire, generate heat. One of the top tips I can give you in a survival situation with that sort of thing is you're going to have your cook set with you. So if it was a survival situation and it's that cold, you've got your mess stove, you've got your cook set, you've got your water. Right, don't waste the heat from that. What you're going to start doing is heating your water. So basically, more water than you need for a brew. Get as much out of that as possible. Heat the water, put the hot water back into that, do it up, put it inside your clothing. You created a hot water bottle. Okay, there's another reason why I always carry 2 containers of water, or as a lot of people do these days, will carry something like that as an emergency pee bottle to have inside their sleeping bag with them, so they don't have to get out and get cold. So use your pee bottle. Put hot water in your pee bottle. Use it as a hot water bottle. Yeah, yeah, and that's going to keep the heat a lot longer and a lot better. And again, that's the ones I use. Millets, go outdoors. Lots of places do them. Euro Hike, hydro bottle. They're not expensive. Okay, I get them in different colours. Primarily, they're all see-through, but I get different colours so I can grade them. I can sit there. I know my old ones at the moment are 1.5 years, 2 years old, and they're clear. My pea bottle one is a black one. Okay, my new water ones are blue ones. So again, it allows me to keep an eye on how old things are, how often they've been used, what condition they're in. And being clear, it means I can actually examine the fluid in it, look at it and go, yeah, that's okay, that's safe to use, that's clean, that's whatever. So again, think about the colours of your containers if you're going to get them for different uses and different purposes. Now the acetone is starting to burn out now. So you can see that the flame is starting to drop a little bit in height. You can see the bloom on it. Methylated spirits has probably got a quarter of the load still in there. But the acetate is starting to bubble and it's starting to come down near the bottom. So the acetone does burn a little bit faster. But again, as you can see from this test, how fast? What do you need it for? Do you need it just to make a brew? Do you need it just to warm up the space you're in for a minute or two? You're already going to be, like, as soon as you've got as soon as you've got your water on, you're looking at your next situation. You're like, okie doke, I can get hot water. I can now warm my hands. I can now use my hands. What can I do now? Do I build a shelter? Do I put the tent up? What do I do? What's the next step? Okay. We often say that the art of survival is about being lazy. So it's about the minimum amount of effort for the maximum amount of effect. Okay. So it's also about speed. It's about thinking, doing, getting things organised, getting yourself set up. So you're going to walk into your situation. Like I said, our imaginary situation was a bothy on the mountainside. You've gone up in spring. It's supposed to be a beautiful day. Storms come in. Temperature's dropped. It's awful. You're wet. You're cold. You get to the bothy. It's bitterly cold in the bothy because they're stone. They're not heated. Most of them these days will have a fireplace or a stove of some sort that you can light. But you can also get your brew on. You can get your hands warmed up. You can get yourselves organised. This will be your initial source. This will get you to the next step. And the next step is going to be looking around you and going, right, how do I shelter? How do I improve my situation? Get a warm drink into me. Cup that. Hold your hands around that cup. The excess water in your excuse me. Excess water in a jug that you've just heated, that's going into your bottle, that's gone down your front. Oh, you're feeling a lot better now. So that's how it works. So that's pretty much, yeah. You see the flame on that acetone is definitely dropping. The methylated spirits has now taken over. It's still going. There's still plenty there. So comparison between the two is, temperature wise, I'd say acetone burns hotter, but it burns faster. Okay, methylated spirit has got a higher vapor rate, and it come to bloom quicker, and it's got a stronger bloom, and it lasts longer. So what you've got to do there is start working out how much it costs. I haven't tried paraffin on a Trangier. Primarily because I don't think it's going to work so well because it's not got a high vapor rate. But yeah, the acetone, the nail polish remover, for a lot of people is their go-to. I'm probably going to use it more often now than the methylated spirits. I'll probably keep a gallon of methylated spirits at home as a backup for home. Okay, because yeah, there's your proof in the pudding. The methylated spirits last longer. The acetone on the other side of the coin will heat your water faster. Okay, it will make that brew. So for my camps, it's probably going to be acetone, all right, because it will make me a brew that bit quicker. And for my home prep, it's probably going to be methylated spirits alongside the Trangier cooker. Simple as that. Both got their place, both as good as one another in their own way. It's a cost thing. The methylated spirits is a lot more expensive. There we go. We'll let that one burn itself out. In actual fact, I think we'll all agree. I think that the acetone there is done. So you take your snuffer, pop your snuffer on like that. It's done. It's out. So that's your snuffer. I'll just find the other snuffer. The other snuffer's there. Now, the Trangier one is a bit more of a pain in the bum because it doesn't have such a good handle on it, but done, out. Now, the secret is now allow them to cool down. Put them to one side. They are out, but you've got to let them cool down. You've got that rubber ring inside that lid, and I've seen so many people over the years put this lid on now, and that rubber ring melts to the top. It blocks off all the jet holes. The ring's damaged. It's no longer sealing. It doesn't hold the spirit or the alcohol in, and it's knackered. You can buy replacement rings, but I can tell you, trying to clear out those tops takes a little while. Now, these are made of brass. Great thing with brass, it does cool quickly. You can, if you want to speed up the cooling, if you're getting ready to move, is now lift that off, and just allow the cool air to get to that. It's as simple as that. And it's not a 20-minute wait. It is literally 5 minutes, and you're going to be able to put those lids back on. You'll be able to touch the top of that. There you go. I can touch the top of those now. Can't keep my hand on there for any length of time, but I can touch them both. So give that another 2 or 3 minutes. That'll be cool enough for me to put the lids back on. And again, as I say, what I would do in the field, especially if I was getting ready to move, I just made my morning's brew, pack my kit up and that. Allow those to cool whilst I finish packing my kit up. Top them back off. Put the lids back on. Straight into the kit. Your brew kit, or for me, my brew kit usually goes on the top of my gear. Because it's something I'm probably going to want at lunchtime later on in the day, get to a nice spot, enjoying the view, and I'm going to sit there and think, do you know what would make this better? A decent cup of coffee. A nice cup of coffee would make this so much better. Yeah, so that's the way I think about it. Simon, how you doing, brother? Hope you're good. Oh no, we should be all right now. It's only in the first few minutes of a live that they get twitchy about it. The program is set up to stop basically bad people filming themselves committing criminal acts. Once you're actually into it, it's not a problem. Oh, so we can close that up now because we're not going to do any more fire and flame. There you go. I can put my hand and hold my hand on both of those now. So, not a problem. See, no damage, no scarring, no burns. Brilliant. So, let's close those off, get them the right way around. Slightly different threads on these, hence I'm saying getting the right way around. There we go. Methylated spirits and acetone. For anybody that's just got themselves a spirit stove, like the Vu and that, there's some options for you. And there are many other options out there. Denatured alcohol. If you can't find methylated spirits, have a look for denatured alcohol, which is the American form. So that's brews. You got your brews, you got your lights sorted. Oh yeah, you got your lights sorted. You've got your oil stick to go inside your light. That works really well. Now, I didn't think about this beforehand. I was going to do a demo of that with the oil stick inside it, but it's got oil in it, and I'm going to be tilting it to show it to you on that camera. That's not going to be a good idea. What I will say to you, for those of you who have not seen them, I'll do the candle because I can tilt that. These candle systems, let's turn that light off. Let's turn that light off. And let's turn that light off. Okay. The UCO candle. Okay. What do I think about it as a prepper survival tool? As a piece of equipment to have. Now, for years, I didn't think much of them. Because, like I say, I thought they were a bit tinny, a bit toy. I was mistaken. Okay, now that is giving off 19 BTUs. That's what they reckon off the candle. That's a 9-hour burn. That's enough light to see those bits and pieces around the room to move around with. Okay, it's a great piece of kit. I absolutely love it. I wish I'd come across them earlier. The oil burners work really well in them. I'll shut that down. Just turn a bit of light back on. There we go. They are an absolute delight to use and to have. Because it's glass encased, it does make it quite safe. If things can't come into contact with it, the wind can't blow it out. If it falls over, you knock it over indoors, all that's going to do is spill wax, okay, and it folds down to next to nothing. Absolutely brilliant bit of kit. And like I say, with the oil inserts, yeah, even cheaper to use. It's a 9-hour candle. I've had a lot of people saying, oh yeah, but they're bloody expensive. Yes, they are expensive. 3 9-hour candles, you're looking at about £18. That's not cheap. But it's a 9-hour candle. 9 hours. Realistically, think about it. Think about it if you said at home and the power went out tonight, whilst you're sitting there, and you're thinking to yourself, right, that's it, power's out. What am I going to do next? Well, most of us are actually going to go find the warmest room in the house. For me, it's the bedroom. You're going to get yourself toasty. You're going to get yourself comfortable. You're going to get yourself set up. Are you going to burn that candle all night? No. You're probably going to burn that candle an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. You've got your other light systems anyhow, but even if it was just a candle, you wouldn't use it all night. When I was a nipper in one of the barns at Broad Oaks Farm, they used oil lanterns, okay? And that was in a livestock barn. Those lanterns would get lit when it got dark. They would stay lit for probably 2 or 3 hours whilst you were doing all the jobs you needed to do. Then they got shut down. So you're not going to burn a candle all night, are you? It's a waste of resources, and B, you're only going to use it when you need it. Even our ancestors, which relied on candles for getting around the house, put the candle out once you got into bed and kept the matches or a light source to reignite it next to it. So it's as simple as that. So three candles for 18 quid. Yeah, it is steep, but again, it's a great resource to have. And once you've got them, you've got them. Get the oil insert, okay? Get yourself lamp oil, and again, it can keep you going pretty much as long as you need to. Yeah, it's a bioethanol. So the lamp oil I use. Let's have a look. Where have I put the lamp oil? Where have I put the lamp oil? Where did I put the lamp oil? In fact, I put away somewhere. So lamp oil, okay, lamp oil, paraffin, okay, could be used on there. Any number of resources. Hi Kaz, how you doing, my lovely? Hope you're good. Hope you're feeling a bit better. Somebody robbed your truck about 10 years ago. Oh, that's a nightmare. That's not. There's always somebody out there, isn't there? So let's get on to the main topic that I wanted to cover today, which was I've had a lot of feedback off of knives, and people asking me, how do I select a knife? How do I do it? What do I think about it? What's the method? What's the best way of thinking about this when you're going to do it? Let me just have a swig of my tea. Right, so knives. Well, the first thing is, what do you want your knife for? Is it a pocket knife? Is it something you want to carry every day? Is it something you want to have with you as a backup tool every day, just in case you may need it? Or are you in a profession where you use a knife? Or are you just somebody that says, do you know what, sometimes I need to cut a bit of string, sometimes I need to open boxes, sometimes I need to do those little bits and pieces, but it's not at home, it's not on my private property, it's going to be at work. Well, if that's the case, that's what I'd recommend. Just a simple Swiss Army knife. Okay, this is the Hunter. They do many types. The prices vary on the model you buy. But got 2 blades on there. Okay, they're good quality blades. They're nice and sharp. This one I wanted specifically because it had the scissors in it, and you know I've got to think I've got fingernails. You snag them, rip a fingernail back to the quick. You really don't want a pair of scissors so you can snip it off and sort it out. They've also got pair of tweezers, which comes in handy if you've got a tick or a thorn or something like that. Or as I was trying to do the other day, put a spring in a carburetor. It's quite handy. Little toothpick, okay, has 101 uses and will also open a handcuff. Not that I see a reason for you using a handcuff unless you're into bondage. Phillips screwdriver, standard size. Flat bladed screwdriver, tin opener, bottle opener. Simple as that. Okay. This model does have one extra tool on the back of it, which has turned out to be a brilliant tool, which is a historical thing, which is that. Now, that little hook, I didn't think much of originally, but I use it all the time. It's a brilliant hook. And in actual fact, a lot of people don't even realise it's what used to be called a parcel hook. Okay. So a parcel hook, and going back to the days when parcels were sent wrapped in brown paper and tied off with string, it meant you could hook the string and carry the parcel. Okay, so if you had a large parcel, you could. I use it all the time now because it's a great hook for undoing knots. If you've got something on a bit of paracord that's got a little bit tight, you can hook the knot that into it and use that to pull the cordage out and release that knot. If you've got something that you want to lift, like a bundle of sticks that you've tied off with paracord, you could hook it with that and lift it and carry it. Okay. I've also used it for pulling string through things. If you're into making nets and cordage and stuff like that, it's another handy tool. You can wrap a piece of string around it, and by twisting it, use it to thicken the string and make a rope. So you can literally put a loop over that, have two bits of cordage, and use that to put the twist in to make it bigger. It's absolutely brilliant. Bob out. Hiya, mate. How you doing? You're in the UK. You melt down candles I buy from B&M, £5 for the church candle. Yes, exactly, mate. Go out, find those resources, make the most of them. Definitely the way to do it. Okay. Yeah. I've got a candle making kit here myself. I've even gone so far as to get some of the colours and scents, and I've made us loads of candles. You start spotting things like little tins. So you have something like the round tins with fish in it or ham in it, and that. It's a great way to make your own emergency candles out of it that way. It's a great bit of thing to carry. So that's what I would suggest for that, for an everyday carry. I used to carry a Leatherman everywhere, but Leathermans have a locking blade, so that can be a bit of an issue. I've never had an issue with that anywhere because it complies with UK law. So UK law, it's quite simple. There are places in the UK you are not allowed to carry a bladed item. Okay. They are, you can go and look up the law yourself. I'm not going to go into it in depth, but you can look it up. Things like football grounds, pubs, certain metropolitan areas. So if you're going, like me, if I'm going into central London, I won't carry a bladed item because they can be a bit twitchy up there, obviously because there's a lot of knife crime. However, rural areas, my little town where I live, not an issue at all. Okay, complies with UK law. The blade is slubbed 3 inches. It does not lock in any way or form. Okay, and it can be carried as a pocket knife, and you do not have to explain it. That's the other thing to be aware of. I don't need a reason to have that. I can have it just because I want it. However, if we changed it up a bit, and we go to the Leatherman, because it has a locking blade, under UK law, what it says, I cannot carry it unless I have a justifiable reason. Okay, so if you're a farmer going about his daily business, if you're somebody who's in a trade that's going to use it all the time, it's justified. And it would not be illegal for you to have it with you because you have a justified reason to have it with you. Yes, you might meet a police officer that says, oh, yeah, but why? It's got a locking blade. I don't like that. You could use that. Oh, it's not complying with the law. Why don't you just have a penknife? Well, my argument with that is always Health and Safety at Work Act officer. It is a tool that I use as part of my trade. Under the Health and Safety at Work Act of 1974, the tools and equipment I use must be designed for purpose with safety in mind. Because I use it all the time, okay, all the time, it has a locking blade so it doesn't close on my fingers because it is a tool of my trade. Therefore, it is justified. Equally so, and a lot of my farming friends have these, okay, a locking lock knife, sub 3 inches, okay. There's nothing fancy about it. It's a basic working tool with a lock on it. I know a lot of gamekeepers, a lot of agricultural workers will carry that with them at work, and there is no issue. However, what you have to bear in mind with these is you can't just have it in your pocket if you walk into Tesco's, as I said the other day. Okay, you'd have to leave it in the car, or you put it in your work bag, and it lives in there. It's not readily to hand. You're complying with the law. That, on the other hand, you can just leave in your pocket. Now, how do I buy knives? What's my first thought process with knives? So that's it. What do I need it for? Now, if I'm looking at a fixed blade, so I'm looking at going doing my bushcrafting, my survival training, running a course, I'm going to a private woods or somewhere where I have a permission. It could be somebody's farm, farmland, or I'm going out to do a set task. So say I am going to a public place, but I'm running a course there, I might want to take a bushcraft knife with me. So my oldest bushcraft knife, or one of my oldest bushcraft knives, an old friend. This one was actually bought for deer management. Originally, that wasn't on there. What that had in there originally was a little sharpening rod, okay, so that you could keep the blade sharp because it was for game preparation. When I got over into doing more bushcraft, I actually swapped it out for a ferro rod, and the ferro rod lives in there, and the ferro rod is attached to the sheath. So the sheath on this one, as you can see, isn't designed to go onto a belt. It's actually designed to have a loop so it can be hung around the neck, which is what I used to do with it. So again, I would get to the job, get the rifle out, sort the rifle out, go to my bag, take my Grallican knife out, which is what the technical term would be for it, and I'd hang it around my neck, stuff it down inside my t-shirt. The reason I preferred that was, again, it meant that I didn't, on the way there, get to the petrol station, walk into the petrol station with a knife on my belt, because that would be illegal, could cause distress. I didn't go into Tesco's or what have you. It was on a loop around my neck. If I made that mistake, nobody's going to see it anyhow. However, I got into the process of put it on when I get to the job, take it off when I leave the job. So the knife itself, let's get into that. The first and probably most important thing that you need to think about when selecting your knife is your hand. Okay? You can have the best knife in the world with the best blade, that's the sharpest and most efficient blade in the world. But if it doesn't fit your hand, it's useless. Okay? When I say fit your hand, I mean that when you pick it up, it's comfortable. Okay? Every knife you pick up will have its own hold, designed on or based on how the guy making it has made the handle. Okay, if you take something like the Mora is a generic handle. Okay, they've literally sat there and gone, if I take 1,000,000 people, how will 1,000,000 people hold a knife? Okay, 1,000,000 people hold a knife like that. It's not for me, the most comfortable knife. It's an okay knife. My hand rubs at the front there, and the little finger rubs at the back there. So it's not the perfect grip. I've got slightly chubby hands or large hands. Years of blacksmithing, they're well spread out. So yeah, not so comfortable, but workable. Very, very workable. The Moras, again, especially if you're starting out in the bushcraft world, yeah, they're one of the best knives you can get. They really are a brilliant tool for starting out for beginners and for young people as well. If you're teaching young people knife handling skills, they want to do carving, they want to go up the woods, they're cheap, they're efficient, they're affordable, they're great, but they're generic. Now, you could adapt that handle. You could take a file to it. You could sand it out. You could make it fit your hand better. That's another reason I like wooden handles on knives. We'll get into that one in a minute. But again, when you go into the shop and there'll be a selection of knives there, You ask the guy very nicely, right, I'm looking for a bushcraft knife. I'm looking for something that's going to fit my hand. He might say to you, I don't want you to take it out of the sheath. Fine, feel it. If he does allow you to take it out of the sheath, get hold of it. Does it fit your hand? Is it comfortable? Do you have a good grip on it? Is it going to work for what you need? Okay. Don't just try that grip. Adapt your grips. Now, I'm about to show you a grip that a lot of people freak about because they say it's an aggressive grip. But actually, if you're boning out, i.e., you're preparing meat, you're taking things off the bone, it's a grip you're going to use, which is going to be reverse it. Put it that way, okay? Because you're going to push in and you're going to use force to move it along the bone, okay? There's the pointed grip, which is going to be using the knife that way. So again, can you shrink down on the blade? Now, one of the reasons I chose this for game preparation is you can see that it's got a textured line here. I like that because that meant I can shrink down on that blade there. And if I'm preparing, I'm trying to do this at the right angle, see? So if I'm preparing game, I could come forward on it and just use the tip, this edge here, to do the fine tasks I might want to do, getting around various bits of meat, game, cutting sinews. I might be wanting to remove the sinews and so on. The other thing is in gralloching, and I don't wish to sound horrible, but when you're opening the animal for the first time, you don't want to go too deep. So again, there's organs in there you don't want to damage. There's parts you don't want to damage. So one of the techniques you can use is you can see how my fingers come down, and it's just left a few millimeters of that tip showing. Okay, and I've got a good grip away from the edge. Okay, with the exception of possibly that finger, but that would come back there, away from the edge. But it meant I could come in and control the depth of the cut, so that I was only cutting the surface tissue. Okay, and the same thing for skinning. I could work it like that and use it. So again, does it feel right in your hand in various holes that you think you're going to use? Next thing to think about is the spine of the knife. Okay, so with knives, with good quality knives, the edge is tempered. Okay, it's hardened. You actually want a soft spine. It makes a durable knife. So that shouldn't be too hard down there. That gives it flexibility, and it should be hardened along that edge, which will give it the ability to hold an edge. Ideally, you want a flat spine here, and you want that edge to be 90 degrees. The reason being that when it comes to using your ferro rod, my ferro rod has not been used in a while, so it's going to take a second or two to... There we go. You know, when you try and demonstrate something to somebody, yeah, idea needs to be 90 degrees so that it will. Oh, you know what? Oh, there's a thing. Be careful where you buy your ferro rods from, because my ferro rod is just a coating of ferrocerium. I've gone down to steel. Now this happens with Chinese ferro rods quite a bit, and that is something, yeah, we weren't going to hit on that, but there you go, that's something for you. So basically what the sneaky swines have done, they've taken a metal bar, probably mild steel, coated it in ferrocerium and sold it as a ferro rod. Do you know what? Don't. Yeah, that's what happens. That's annoying. That is very annoying. That is a rip-off. So that has made me quite annoyed. So let's go. Let's get a proper ferro rod. Proper ferro rod. Okay. So proper ferro rod. Simple as that. So you want 90 degree spine on the back of your knife. You can. A lot of people hate this. If you had a knife that doesn't have a 90 degree spine on the back, or you're really struggling, it's super cold, bad conditions, okay, use the edge of your knife. use the edge of your knife up there, and you'll find it will. You don't need to use any force; it will strike. Now, a lot of people don't like it because it will damage the edge of your knife. Try not to do it too much, but what do you want? If you're using a ferro rod, you're trying to make fire. As long as you're not putting a massive amount of pressure on that edge, you won't damage it too much. You might tarnish it, okay? But you're going to blunt it. So always at this end, as close to the handle as possible. Right, so that's feel, usage, what do you want it for? But again, like I say, the most important thing to me is how that knife feels in my hand. So you may find yourself in a situation, and another thing to think about is thickness of the blade as well. Try that. That's a 4 millimeter thickness on that blade. Okay, I've used it for battening. You can batten small stuff with that. Does work quite well. But again, battening is quite brutal on knives, and it's not so much brutal on the blade. Even if you've got the best quality blade, the shock comes up through the handle. So when looking at your handles, try and get a 3 riveted handle. Also have a look and make sure the tang, where the blade comes through the handle, make sure it covers the whole of the knife. Okay. Now, obviously when battening with that, I'm hitting there, the shockwave travels up. If that's just glued on, it will break the handle away. Okay. It will damage it, and you can crack and split these as well. It does happen, but a little bit of care will go a long way. Now you can find, not all my knives are full tang like that. I have this knife here. This was bought for me on my wedding anniversary, our 30th wedding anniversary. And me and Kaz went to Norway. Okay, and we went and visited in Bergen a Sami shop. Now, the Sami shop in Bergen is only open in the summer because the Sami people are nomadic throughout the winter months, and they make things to bring in and sell to the tourists in the summer, and it is a tourist item. However, they had a beautiful selection of Sami knives in there, and I spoke to the people, the Sami people there, and said, look, this is what I'm into, and it's going to be an anniversary present. It's going to be something that's going to be used. I was working for the MOD at the time, and when I'm out on the training areas and that, I wanted a small, efficient knife that I could carry with me. And I asked the guys, what sort of knives do Sami men carry all day long? They carry a big knife, a little knife. What do they carry? And it turned out that most of them carry a simple small puko. This is what that's called. It's a puko. As you see, it's got Scandi grind on it. It's a carbon steel blade, and it's got a bit of etching on it. Okay, it's also gained a bit of damage over the years, as you can see there. Okay, now that's just tarnishing. That is just tarnishing. I could polish that out, however, I don't. I just keep the knife clean. Okay, keep it sharp. Don't worry about the tarnishing too much. Okay, it's just a discoloration of the steel. 90-degree spine. So it's got reindeer bone and reindeer antler handle, and those are separated by leather. Okay, by hide. It's got a brass bolster at that end, a rivet. So it is just a thin rat tail running through the handle out that end and pinning over. That knife has carried me well for many years. It fits my hand. It's comfortable. It's small, efficient for tasks. It cuts rope, hide, food, whatever I need it to do. It's a great little knife. Would I use it as a bushcraft knife? Not so much. I would never try and batten with that. That handle would definitely split and fail. It would damage. But as a thing, it's nice. And that takes me into things. You can find out there in this world all sorts of fantastic knives. You can find antiques. They are out there. They're all over the place. You can find things like that one. Okay, so this was given to me in quite a sorry state, I will add. So I used to do a lot of blacksmithing, and it was something I did as purely for pleasure. You never make money out of blacksmithing these days, too many cheap imports. But I used to make things. Now, my cousin got hold of me and he said, I've been given a knife, he said, and it's in a hell of a state. It's in a hell of a state. Are you interested? And I said, yes, I'm always interested. I'm always interested in what's out there. So I drove about 40 miles and picked it up. I hadn't seen a picture of it. But I knew from him that if he said it was interesting, it was going to be interesting. And this is what we picked up. So that's its original sheath. Okay. It's a simple leather sheath. I've had to feed it and take care of it because, again, when I got it, it had all dried out completely and was cracking and splitting quite badly. Probably didn't have much more than a year or two in it. So I saddle soaked it. And as you say, it's brought it back to a reasonable condition. It's reasonably flexible, but I have to bear in mind its age. So if I start bending that over, you would see that split. But I could soap it even more and take care of it. So when it came to me, this blade at some point got rusty. So what somebody did was they took a Dremel to it, and it looked terrible. So we got it in the forge, and basically I hand sanded it back. I very gently hand sanded it. Took a couple of days of hard work to take the majority of the Dremel marks out. There are still a couple in the spine there which are too deep for me to get to. But what is it? It's a camp knife. Okay, it's a camp knife. This was made somewhere between 1840 and 1939. Now we know that because on the handle here it has DRGM and then a number. Now that number and the DRGM mark was a proof mark for the Austrian and German states, and basically anything that was made outside that was brought in had to have a DRGM mark on it to show that the duty had been paid. Okay, so you couldn't export these into Germany or Austria without that mark. It was quite simple. Tax had to be paid on it. The knife itself is marked Fagan. Okay, so Fagan was a very good Sheffield knife maker, cutler. Used to make knives for officers, for the British Army, lots of bits and pieces like that. Very well known knife manufacturer. So this was possibly bought by somebody who hunted or camped or wanted a general tool. Now, what fascinated me about it when I first saw it was the fact of how it worked. So if we take the file here, and it's a very nice little file, it's got cross hatch that side, slot hatch that side, so it's got a metal side. It's again stamped Fagan, and it's got a bottle opener. But how this knife works is you've got a lock here. If you push the lock down, the blades clip in, and they really have a good fit, a beautiful fit. Okay, we've got what looks like, and I think it's probably a red deer antler handle. That's aluminium. That's aluminium. Again, a great resource at the time. At that period of time, aluminium was really popular because you could cast this stuff into great shapes and it was durable and that. Okay. So, and again, all you do, push the lock down, he says. I'm trying to be gentle with it because, again, it's a very old knife. There we go, and it comes out, and those are your locking tangs. They've got an awl there, It's viciously sharp thing. Or as people always say to me, that's for getting stones out of horses' hooves. Well, you poke that into a horse's hoof, you're probably going to get kicked to high hell. A bottle opener or cork screw. And then we come to the blade. Now, the blade there has a blood groove on it. Okay. Now, does that mean it's a fighting knife? No, it means that it's a game knife. It means it's a knife designed to work and process game. It's a very, very sharp knife as well. It's a very sharp knife. Now, do I take that out to camps with me? No. And the reason being, I wouldn't want to damage it. It would probably work just as well today as it did when it was first produced. Okay, as a multi-tool. It's a fantastic bit of history. I keep it here purely as an item to remind myself of craftsmanship, the time gone by. I do love it. I think it's a wonderful thing. It's a shame it's damaged. And I am missing one item for the toolkit, which is actually a can opener. I managed to find the knife itself on the internet, but I'm missing the can opener. Now, the handle on that does not fit my hand. It would be uncomfortable for me. In the days that was made, it was probably made and somebody would go into a shop and there would be many different shaped handles and they would find the one that fitted for them. I didn't get that choice. But a lovely bit of kit. Is it practical for bushcraft? No, of course it isn't. Okay, it's a thing. It's something to have because it is a beautifully engineered thing. It's beautifully made, beautifully crafted. It's not practical. So, where does that take me? So, you can go to the brute. Okay, so British Army survival knife or the MOD survival knife, or if you're lucky enough to find one, or you can spend the money to get one, a J. Adams. Now, this is not a J. Adams. Okay, this is a copy of a J. Adams made under license by a company. Now, when I got this knife, it was a good knife, but it had, because it was made, it's the same format as the J. Adams knife. Now, the J. Adams knife, when it was first designed, was initially designed for pilots. Okay, that's where we have to go with that. That gets rid of one of the myths that's out there. It was originally designed as a pilot survival knife. Okay, now the format for the design of this knife from the Ministry of Defence, okay, at the time it was made, was it had to be strong and brutal enough for a man to hack himself out of an airframe in an aircraft. Okay, so there's one piece. Whether that was canvas or an aluminium skin, it had to be able to hack himself out of the airframe of an aircraft. 2, it had to be light enough to be used as a defensive tool. Okay, yet strong enough to be used as a pry bar for opening ammunition cases. Okay, so there's a contradiction in terms. Light enough to be used as a defensive tool, heavy enough to be used as a pry bar. That's difficult. That's a pain in the spine. They made the blade wide so that it could be used as a digging implement. They made it thick to give it the strength. Okay, but the other one that you often hear from people is they're a swine to sharpen. They lose their edge relatively fast compared to a lot of modern knives. And there is a very good reason for that. It was designed to be sharpened in the field using whatever you could find around you. If you have a super hard knife, that edge is going to be brittle. If it's brittle, it will chip. If it chips, it's now useless. If you soften that edge a little bit, yes, it's going to need to be sharpened more often because it's not going to carry such a good edge. But in the field, it could be repaired easily. It could be maintained. A simple stone, right, whether it's a river wash stone or whether it's a sharpening stone, can keep that sharp and keep that up to scratch. It doesn't chip and crack. It will roll. Now, a rolled edge can be sharpened again. A chipped edge is always going to have that chip in it. It's going to be a swine, and it's going to be harder to sharpen. So it was a practical tool. The handle on these was a thing of horror. Now it's made out of a hardwood. I can't remember which wood it is now. I did actually know it, but it's gone for the brain. It's a very hard tropical wood. Okay, with 3 extremely large copper rivets. It was designed to be brutal and strong to take the abuse. The handle originally went all the way to the end, okay, and was a big boxy handle. It's a big square handle. It was designed that it could take abuse. Now, a lot of guys that got hold of these through the MOD customized them. So what have I done? I've reshaped the handle to fit my hand. And again, for various grips, holds that I'm going to do. When you're shaping a handle, you want to keep moving the handle, the knife, into positions you're going to use it in. You don't want to make it so you can only use it one way. You need it to be adaptable. So I shaved the handle down, made it fit a little bit better, made it fit my hand, my grip a lot better. One of the things that I do with this, sometimes I found that I use it quite often for driving into wood, split wood, and sometimes use it almost, well, that was close, wasn't it? Use it just looking at the screen and then moving things, nearly did an Owen. Yeah, use it sometimes almost like a chisel. So I might be driving it in that way, where I've cut a couple of slots down and I'm using this as a chisel to knock out a wedge. So what I did was I shaved the handle down here on the butt, so that when I'm striking this, I'm not striking the wood on the handle. Okay, it's also given me the ability at a later date to shaft in a little bottle opener on the end of that, so it can be used that way to crack open a bottle. Not that I often do, but it's just a gimmick. The cross guard on these normally came out both sides like that. The top cross guard is always a pain. I've seen guys bend them forward so they put their thumb onto it. I've taken mine off completely, so that my hand, I've designed the handle so my hand comes forward, because there's a lot of weight in that blade. But as you can see, my thumb sits there, okay? And I've cut a slight, or ground a very slight divot in there for my thumb, which helps my hand to index the knife, control the knife a lot more accurately, okay? The other bonus with that indexing there is I have a large ferro rod with it, pretty much the same as this one. That becomes my ferro rod slot. Okay, makes it easier for me to index the ferro rod, control it, and put the sparks where I need to, no matter which method you're using. So again, the other thing to bear in mind when choosing your knife is, does your knife have enough bulk and weight that you can actually make it fit your hand? Only tip I can give you there is little and often. So when you're reshaping your handle, and you can see how I've profiled it, is take a little bit off, try it. Take a little bit off, try it. Take a little bit off, try it. And when you think that's comfortable, that's where I want it, then there you go. That's the way to start training your hand. Training your hand, that becomes the next thing. So your hands are wonderful tools. They can do everything you want. Okay, pick things up, put things down, adjust. Within your hands, you have tendons, bones, muscles. Okay. What you have to do with your knife is you have to create muscle memory. You have to create it so that you get the feel of the knife and it becomes part of you. That knife should be an extension of your hand. Okay. You can get to the point where you don't really have to think about the control of it. You know where it's going, you know what it's doing. Practice is the only way of getting that. That practice when you first start has to be slow, gentle, and cautious, or you're going to hurt yourself. But with time, you find that you can get quicker, you can get more efficient. I get people all the time up the woods and teaching them to use their tools, their equipment, do survival, and it can be simple things from cutting cordage to battening to making fires to whatever. They always are clumsy when they first start. Okay, because their muscle memory isn't there. They're not used to gripping something, not used to handling something. Okay, it's new to their brain, it's new to their hand, it's putting weight in places they're not used to. It takes time, it takes repetition, but you build that muscle memory. As you build that muscle memory, you find yourself becoming more accurate, more efficient, and more capable with it. Okay, it's none of us could ride a push bike the first time we got on it, but very quickly we developed that technique, that method, and we gain that ability and that confidence. The more confidence we gain, the better we become. Okay, so again, it's also about thinking, about learning, about using. Caution must be applied to that all times, because there is also a glitch in the human body, which is overconfidence. Yes, you can become overconfident, and when you become overconfident, the human nature normally reminds you. Yeah, Jay Adams is still going. It is a lot of money, but if you buy a Jay Adams knife and you customize it to fit your hand, you will be handing that on to your children, and your children will be handing it on to your grandchildren. It's as simple there. It's a very, very simple thing. Quality, buy the best quality you can. Don't get ripped off. There are companies and manufacturers, I'm not going to name any, but there are companies out there which will charge you £700 or £800 for a knife. Okay, no knife is worth £700 or £800, none whatsoever. Okay, if it wasn't, um, they're just, none of them are worth that sort of money. But why are they so expensive, Mick? Well, I'm a blacksmith. Okay, so if I was making a knife, and this is where it gets difficult, handcrafted knives take time. When it comes to hand sanding and things like that, and I've seen a lot of videos of people that produce knives today, and they're using equipment, belt sanders and so on, and they can make a knife fairly quickly. Okay, but it takes time. If you're making a top quality knife, it took me 3 weeks to make a knife as a wedding present for somebody, and that was just a small scan do, because I hand sanded it, put love and passion into it. That's 3 weeks. If I take the hourly equivalent and the materials out of it, yes, that is a £600-700 knife, but no knife is worth £600 or £700. How often do I sharpen? How often do I sharpen? Right, so as my mate Three Dog Night there has said, stropping. Stropping is more important than sharpening in a way. And let's have a look, think what I've done with this. I should have got all this gear out beforehand. Right, sharpening is quite simply when it's needed. Okay, it's when it's needed. If a knife is becoming blunt, sharpen it. It may mean that you have to carry a stone with you. It may mean that you carry I'm not going to get into the politics of sharpening because there's lots of different ideas there, but you carry what you can use. So you might carry a small stone like that, and that will allow you to get an edge, albeit slightly coarse, but in actual fact, I do like a coarse edge. You could carry a diamond rod. You can carry any number of sharpening systems with you. But again, as soon as the knife becomes blunt, you give it a sharpen. You keep it sharp. Okay, it's a working tool. Blunt knives cause more injuries than sharp knives, purely and simply because you've got to use more force to do it, especially if you're doing things like feather sticking and that. If the knife isn't cutting properly, give it a sharpen, go back to it. Sharpening it, there's thousands of videos out there on sharpening. I've even done a couple myself. All I'm going to say to you is sharpening is about maintaining an edge and a profile. Scandi knives are popular. In fact, actually, probably easier to show you on that one. Scandi blades are popular because you can see that profile, that edge there. That's a flat edge, and that is your sharpening profile. That is what you're working to. So you put the knife on, tilt it till it's flat on that, and you sharpen it. Simple as that. Stropping, every time you sharpen a blade, you roll metal in a microscopic form over the edge. Okay, and quite often if you sharpen a knife and you just run your fingernail across it, you'll feel a little catch right on that edge. That's called a burr. That burr is created by the sharpening process. A leather strop, and it can be a belt, it can be a piece of leather off an old boot, and that you basically run the blade across it like that, and it removes that burr and gives you a sharp edge. People that do a lot of whittling and carving, my friend Three Dog and that, Bushcraft Sussex, will tell you, it's essential that it's all sharpened, and it might mean that you sharpen it several times an hour. You keep it up together. It makes it more efficient. The J. Adams, yeah, it needs to be sharpened more often. Simple stone, keep it sharpened. And again, like I say, I actually prefer an edge that I can manage, maintain. In a survival situation, I don't want something that's going to chip out on me. Yes, it's going to be brutally sharp. Now, don't be caught up in this thing of paper cutting. Paper cutting, it's a joke. Take it from a blacksmith, it's a joke. It's a great demonstration of how sharp something is, but there comes a point. The edge of a knife is a profile, okay? So take your hand like that. Super fine, okay? All the way to the edge. We'll cut paper, it will cut hair, it will cut the testicles off a gnat whilst in flight, okay? But it's got one problem, it's thin. To get a super sharp edge, a scalpel, it's a thin blade. Thin metal or thin blades can't take a lot of abuse. Now, there is a point where you open it out and it becomes a stronger blade. Okay. Now, it's never going to be as sharp as that thin blade, but it's now got durability. It's going to be sharp enough to cut the things you need it to cut. It's going to be sharp enough to do the jobs you need it to do, but it's going to have a bit more durability. You can open it out again and you suddenly come to a machete, or you come to a go lock, okay? Something that's designed to swing into stuff with a massive amount of force and cut through it. You come out again, you get an axe. And what is an axe designed to do? It's designed to be hurled into things at force. And that's the way that I tend to look at it and think about it. If I'm doing paper cutting, so if I take something like a little pocket knife like that, now I probably want that to be really, really sharp. It's a thin blade, okay? That I would sharpen to the point where I can cut paper. I don't know if I could with it at the moment, but that's the sort of edge I want on that, because it's small, it's light, it's thin, and the jobs I'm doing with it aren't brutal. So I want that to be sharp and thin. If I come to the exact opposite, which is this, look at where the profile of the edge is on that and how short it is. I don't think that camera's going to pick it up, but that's quite a thick blade. Why? Because it's got to be used in a brutal purpose, or for a brutal purpose, i.e. battening, heavy tasks around the camp and so on. So that's the way you need to think about it, is what do you want that edge to really do? It's fine to slice bits of paper with a knife that is meant for that. But would I want to use that blade for battening? It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work at all. And it will wear and damage quite quickly. There's a middle ground. So you get something like a Puko, absolutely stunning little knives. You can buy, and I will say, if you want a Puko and you want to customize it, make it yourself, there are several companies out there. I think Springfield's, I think Heine Haynes, they do kits for these. You can make your own Puko, make your own knife. They do the full kit, including all the material for making the handle. Okay. So you can buy those, and they are good kits. They are very good kits. I've advised a lot of people over the years. That one there, like I say, 4mm thick blade. But again, if you look at it, the edge steepens out quite quickly on that. Okay, except for this front quarter. So you literally, from about where my finger is there forward, it actually changes its profile. I've got a brutal edge down here, and as it comes up to the tip, I actually smoothed it out and lengthened the edge so that it gives me a fine edge up here, because that's where I do fine cutting and the skin work and the gutting and that. Down here is where I might be cutting rope, I might be pulling through sinew, I might be doing the heavier tasks. So again, you can change the profile down the length of your blade. It doesn't need to be the same the whole length, and you can do that even with something like a Mora. Okay, in your sharpening process, you could go steeper there and give yourself a little bit more of a durable edge, and then you can change the angle and give it a shallower edge through the tip, which will give you a finer edge. So you don't have to get stuck in, it's got to be the same, uniform all the way down. With practice and time, you can vary that edge geometry to do the tasks you need. I've done it on this, in actual fact. There is, it's hard to see, but you might see, you can see the shiny bit on the edge. When you see just on there, it's a little bit deeper than it is, say, down here. And that is because I changed the geometry on just that little bit there to give me a finer edge. So that if I'm having to cut something like leather or I'm carving, I can use that edge there to do that with. And again, you can see how I'm shrinking down on the blade. This is something to be practiced. This is something to do. We see everybody's like, you've got to use the knife from the handle. Well, if I try doing fine work from the handle, it becomes a little bit more fiddly. It's removed away from my hand. The control gets lost because you've got all this movement and slot. Find a knife you can shrink down on, and it takes time and practice to teach your hands to stay away from that edge. But with time and effort, you can shrink down, and I can then get into doing some really fine work with that edge. Okay, it makes it more adaptable. But again, it's about muscle memory, control, and practice. And you've got to be controlled and practice with it. And if you're going to have any of these things, of course, throw your first aid kit into your gear, keep it with you. Don't think to yourself, just because you're only using that, it's not going to be serious. You're going to be all right. It can happen to any one of us at any time. Okay. If I'm taking out a bladed object, if I'm taking out one of my bladed tools, it can be any one of them. Okay, even that. Okay, little simple pocket knife. I want a first aid kit with me, even if it's just something to treat minor slashes and cuts, because they do occur. It doesn't matter how practiced, how good, how professional you are, you will get cuts. Slaughtermen and butchers use knives all day long, all the time. But they also have gloves that are designed to be cut proof. Why? You think, well, it does it all the time. It happens. Okay. Don't ever be fooled into the belief that, no, I'm that good at it, I'm that practiced. It's never happened. It's not going to happen. It will, and it does. And usually when you're feeling at your most professional and confident, to believe you me, that I've had more than one time where I've been demonstrating something at a camp or a lesson, and I found myself going, oh, and so what we'll do, we'll take a break from doing that now, and what we'll do, we'll go over to a bit of first aid. Because it does happen. It does occur. You know, it's quite simple. Yeah, BPS knives. Now, so any of you looking for a good bushcraft knife, I will back up my dog. I will back up my mate there. BPS knives make some brilliant knives. They really are, and they're good budget knives as well. They're fair priced, good quality, simple bushcraft knives. And there's always scope with them for customizing it yourself for fitting in your own handle, in your own hand, should say. Oh, trying to read and think at the same time. So hopefully that helps. Is there anything else anybody would like me to cover, show, see? Is there any of these you'd like to have another look at? Just let me know. What I should do for your entertainment meantime, I shall go through. No, so fire tin. This is this is a prime example of how I think when I'm out and about. So this is let me move those up a little bit. This is my flint and steel kit. What have I got in my flint and steel kit? Wrapped up in a bag, I've got fire lighters and cotton wool balls. Why? Because yes, I can make an ember with that, but I need to take the ember on further. Okay, so in my little tin here, I have some flint arrowheads. Now these flint arrowheads were made for me by a gentleman called Lee Roberts. I actually sat and watched him make these. They're absolutely brilliant, and these are my go-to for my fire steel kit. Made two different types there. One, because it's for me, it links me to my ancestors. Okay, and that arrowhead is a link. The steel that I use, you can see what it was. It used to be a farrier's rasp, a file, and I just threw it in the forge one day. I had it as a bit of scrap. I'd made a knife for somebody, and it was a bit of scrap that was left over, and I just literally heated it, bent it over, so, and yeah, that's become my fast steel. Underneath that, yeah, I've got basically a bit of char cloth. I make my own char cloth. Now, there's a lot of people don't like char cloth, don't like flint and steel. They don't see it as efficient than that. It has downsides. There's people that think it's the be all and end all. I like it because it links me to my ancestors, but my first fire lighting method is my lighter. My backup to my lighter is a ferrocerium rod. They're efficient. Modern science makes them efficient, and they're the way I go. But there's nothing wrong with learning primitive skills. In learning the primitive skills, you also learn that they also have drawbacks. So char cloth is hygroscopic. What do we mean by hygroscopic? Well, if there is any moisture anywhere, it will absorb it. And once it's absorbed it, basically what you got is a bit of ink. It becomes useless. So our ancestors would carry their char cloth sealed up in packs or in containers close to their body, keeping them as dry and warm as possible. So let's do a bit of this for you. So flint and steel, you've all seen me do this. Do love a bit of flint and steel. So char cloth is just back from your edge, okay? Now, there are guys, and I've met some really good guys, that put the char cloth underneath the flint, and that can work for you just as well. But this is just how I do it. My steel comes in, strikes the flint, pushes into the flint, and away. Okay? I'm not doing that, I'm doing that, but it's an arc. And it's not easy to do in front of the camera. I've lost an edge there. Right, so if your flint burrs over, it's not going to work quite so efficiently, because what you're looking at actually doing is the steel gets shaved off by the flint and oxidizes in the air. And it's about catching the spark on the char cloth. There we go. There we go. Simple as that. That was fiddly to do. Now, so once you caught the spark on the char cloth, what do you do then? Because that is no use to man or beast. Okay. Apply a bit of oxygen, creates heat. So the bit that people always miss out on is probably the more important thing to have now is the tinder to go with that to create your fire. Now you can use anything you want. Grass is a great, straw, all that sort of thing, fibre materials. It's where it goes. Don't ever worry about your char cloth either. Once it's lit, it's very hard to put out unless you actually compress it or make it wet. It does generate a huge amount of heat. Okay. And as you can see, it spreads quite slowly. Once it's caught that spark, it's self-maintaining. It will just grow and grow and grow till there's nothing left. So again, there isn't a panic that you're like, oh, the spark's on there, it's going to go out. Your char cloth will just keep glowing. If I drop that into that tin with the rest of the char cloth, it will ignite the char cloth in the tin. That tin becomes a really good hand warmer. Okay, it really does. And you can see there. So a bit of flint and steel for you there. Why? And why do I practice flint and steel? Why do I like it? It just, along with those arrowheads, gives me a connection to my ancestors. Is it a ready go-to survival skill? No, not really. it's a skill worth knowing. If you had nothing else and you had access to a decent bit of steel and a bit of flint, you could probably make fire, but it does require you to already have the char cloth with you. It requires the ability to produce the cloth or char cloth. Our ancestors would use natural fibres, natural materials. So you'd use more often than not things like punk wood. Okay, they would light their fire in the evening. The next process would be to collect materials, or on their travel through the day, they'd collect materials like pieces of punk wood, and they would then process that in that evening, ready for use in the next few days as they move on. Okay, so again, it's not a case of just being able to go to it. A cigarette lighter is a cigarette lighter. Click it, it lights, it does the job. Okay, a ferro rod creates a spark. You can find tinder, take to it. Char cloth, you need to keep, or flint steel, you need to keep producing the char cloth. It's exactly the same issue as you'll come across if you're using a bow drill. Okay, bow drill is an absolutely awesome system. We all like it. We all think it's a great system. What's its downside? Yeah, its downside is conditions, the environment around you, having the resources. You've got to carry the bow drill, so you've got to carry the kit with you. You've still got to find tinder. You've still got to have something that you can ignite from the basis form, same as you do a char cloth. Whereas that gives me the ability to set fire to tinder quite efficiently, quite quickly. Do excuse me, I need 2 seconds. I do apologise for that, old boy syndrome. Cold weather, too much tea. You see the char cloth still smouldering away quite well. So is there a panic with char cloth? No, not really. But you've got to be able to keep it dry. You've got to be able to process it. I would suggest to anybody out there, have a go at making your own charred punk wood and making your own char cloth. And again, stuck in your survival kit. Does it have to go alongside flint and steel? No, it doesn't. Not at all. In fact, it's quite often, and you'll be surprised the amount of heat that generates. That metal lid is hot. So one of the other things you can do, let me just put that in that tray over there. So you've got a bit of char cloth, okay? It's a great method to also have to back up if you're lighting fires in different conditions. Okay, ferro rod. There you go. You sit it alongside your ferro rod, and it gives you a way of making a system that you can then take to the fireplace. You can control it. You can carry it around with you. You can use it as you need to. So again, you can a spark on char cloth gives you a ready ember. Okay, that ember that can be transported to other things. So if you want to think along that way, you can do. It's just a way of capturing a spark. The 3 steps to fire: spark, ember, ignition. It's as simple as that. Yeah, great fun. It's worth practicing. Like I said, and the punk wood, I like. I don't think I've got any left now. I think it's all out. Yeah, I'm pretty much out. I think no, all out of it in that one. Let's have a look in that one. No, that's all cloth in that one. Yeah, I'm out of it. So that will be something I'll be processing up in the spring. But again, our ancestors, this is what they would do in the evenings. They wouldn't be sitting there around the fire, twiddling their thumbs, talking about how Og chased that deer down the alleyway and all the rest of it. They would have been sitting there doing those tasks they needed to do. They would have been napping arrowheads. They would have been sharpening their tools, their equipment, their knives. They would have been drying out their kit from the day. They'd have been repairing things. They'd have been processing punk wood. Survival is about a process of moving forward and constantly keeping up with those things that you need to do. Long scissors for cutting the wicks of candles. My friend, my go-to scissors for trimming wicks tend to be those. Okay. So if I need to trim up a wick on a candle, or even if you take it that light lamp there, right, that's a bit long, that one, so I can trim that down to, in actual fact, this, pull a bit more of that wick out. Simple as that. Just trim it off. Wick that long. There you go. Simple as that. So little small sharp pair of scissors will do it. If you've got right, the place where it becomes a bit more difficult for wick trimming is with things like this. Okay, so, but again, that, as you'll see, has an adjustable wick. Okay, so you can adjust the wick in that. When they get really, really manky, I normally push them up a little bit, trim the top, bring it back down. So that's probably the fiddliest wick you'll ever get to deal with. Same as in the paraffin heaters. The wicks require management. Candles, not so much. They tend to be self-managing. If you look at a candle wick, they tend to manage themselves quite well. Yeah. Other than that, it's small sharp presses is another reason for having something like the Swiss Army pocket knife. Like I say, that little pair of scissors, when we were talking about its use before, yeah, quite often for me it is just getting into that quick and nipping off that bit of fingernail that's snagged, tidying that up. But yeah, I used to use it for wicks. It's 100. I've probably got 100 uses in that pair of scissors out there that I've forgotten about. But day by day, week by week, I suddenly go, oh yeah, correct me, get it out and do it. Tend not to think about it too much. It's another reason I used to like Leatherman. I always used to get myself a Leatherman with a pair of scissors in it. Unfortunately, this one, the scissors have died. I'm going to replace that Leatherman. I'm going to send it back to Leatherman and get a new one, get it fixed. It's a great bit of tool. So that I carry on my person. That is usually at the bottom of my bag somewhere. And if I'm going out and I'm doing my bushcrafty stuff or anything else, whatever else I select from there, I don't take that knife with me every time. I tend to select what I need. If I'm doing courses for people, you will see and handle that one. You'll usually see and handle that one. Okay. And then you'll spend the rest of the day on the Moras. And again, the Moras, you can't knock them. For the money, for anybody that's looking for a simple little knife, the Moras are great. You can move up to the larger and more expensive Mora models like the Garberg and that, which again will not let you down. They're superb bits of kit. Yeah. So iron pyrite. So before our ancestors used that, they used pyrites. I have tried to create a spark with pyrite and do flint and steel with pyrite. It is difficult. because it's a cold spark, or say cold spark. It's not a hot spark. Using iron, you tend to, or steel, call it carbon steel, you get a hot spark. With pyrite, you don't get such a hot spark. And so people say to me, so why would our ancestors have done it? Well, because they didn't have the choice. Because they discovered a way of making a spark, catching the spark. So if that was your only method, you would sit there for an hour, keeping going to do it. This one of the things our ancestors had over us was that patience. That okay, this might take a while, but eventually I'm going to get there. It's also patience is something to nurture in the world of survival. It doesn't always go right first time. With practice, it speeds things up. It gets easier, but it doesn't go right first time. I've said it time and time again. I show on my videos, if I light a fire and the fire goes out, which occasionally happens, right? I'm not saying it happens every time, but occasionally it happens. I'll show it. The reason I show it isn't because I'm laughing at myself. It's because I want to show anybody that's starting out and beginning that that's the truth and reality of it. It can be a slow, it can be a frustrating process, but if you keep pushing at it, you'll get there. There's too many videos of people, and you can usually tell it by the cut, where people go to do a process which might be flint and steel fire creating, and it literally goes, oh, look at that, caught the ember first time. Oh, put it in the grass. Oh, it went up straight away. Put it in my fire. Put the sticks on it. Oh, look at that. I've now got a roaring 3 foot high, 10 foot wide fire that is going to burn all night. Yeah. If that's all somebody sees and they then spend 2 hours struggling to light a fire, then it's not doing somebody a favor, is it? If you show them the reality that in some conditions, especially, the need to create a fire is going to be a task. It's going to be a struggle. It's going to be something that takes a lot of effort. It's going to be something that you have to work at. And that's the reality of it. But in working at it, in creating it, and having the patience to push forward and finally make it, then you're going to come to a situation to survive, isn't it? It's like anything. The first time you start out, I'm useless at whittling spoons. Okay, why? Patience. I will get to the point where something is good enough. I will do the job. That's good enough for me. I really admire people that do spoon carving. I've seen some absolutely awesome spoons carved out there. And again, I'm always laughing at what I call the whittlers. Okay, now it's not a disrespect thing. Don't get me wrong. I respect the people that have the patience and the ability to whittle a spoon. But bushcraft and survival and prepping isn't just making a spoon. But the practice of carving spoons is perfecting this. It's perfecting your ability to use this tool correctly. It's perfecting your ability to use the angles, the shape of the blade to create something. And in so doing, creating more muscle memory and making it better. So do I think knife whittling or spoon whittling has a place in bushcraft? Yes, I do, very much so. In fact, I think it has a place in survival because one, you're creating a useful tool, and two, you're actually increasing your ability to use that tool well. The problem is, I meet a lot of people that can whittle me a fantastic spoon, but couldn't create a fire. And I've been on courses, unfortunately, that should have been labelled as a spoon whittling course. But it wasn't. It was sold to me as a bushcraft survival course. And basically, my entire day was taken up whittling a spoon. Did I feel disappointed? Yes, I did feel disappointed because I didn't cover any of the tasks I wanted to cover. I didn't cover fire lighting, didn't cover shelter building, didn't cover water, didn't cover food, didn't cover first aid, didn't cover any of the things that I think I need to cover. But bloody hell, I made a good spoon. So again, I think there's that things tend to get put in out of perspective. Spoon whittling, yes, brilliant. Learn to do it, create your spoons, perfect your ability to use your knife and your tool correctly. But don't forget the other bits and pieces that go with it. Right, so let me through some of these comments. Look like losses, yeah. Oh, those there. Okay, doke. That is a very old, very well abused set of forceps. Okay. Now, I used to be a blacksmith. Okay, so I used to use forceps for if I was doing very small items in the forge, because what it gave me the ability to do, tongs could sometimes be a bit too big. And you see, these forceps have actually lost their tip. Okay, so it gave me the ability to do, if I was doing small things like spring hardening and things like that, it gave the ability to put it into the forge, let it go, take it out, and then when I wanted to get it out, get a good grip of it, lock it in these, take it out and work it. So yeah, a pair of forceps. Forceps, do they have a use? Yeah. Bushcraft survival world, I got numerous pairs of these. Great for removing fish hooks, taking things out of yourself, putting things into things, lifting things on and off fires and that. They have medical uses, which is what they're meant for. Grinding is another good use for these things. If you're grinding something small that's going to get hot, again, you can lock it into the forcep and just work it on your grinding wheel. Just be careful, if it does come away from this, it'll fly off. Yeah, so that's what they's for. Pair of forceps, as well as having medical uses as well, but those, I don't think those would clamp a vein or an artery too well these days. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Glad you enjoyed it. Hey, no worries, no worries. Again, it's this. So, in your prepping, in your survival world, look around you. It would a three dog. It was right. They charged £380 for what was supposed to be the ultimate bushcraft survival prepping weekend. Come along, meet our instructors and learn. And I got invited along. I got invited along at a discounted rate to go along and join in. And the idea being that I would make a video about it and I would tell everybody how brilliant this course was and how you needed to go on it. You've never seen the video. You never will see the video. So I come home, deleted the footage, sent me an email, told them how disappointed I was. They've never spoken to me since, and I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered. It was a rip-off. It was a rip-off. I'm not an instructor. I am not a licensed qualified instructor. I'm somebody with experience. I used to instruct, and I do run courses. I do run my own courses for people, or what I would term as an experience, because you're not going to get a qualification. You are not going to get a certificate at the end of it that says I am now qualified too. But I run an experience. So I bring people into an outdoors environment and I share basically the skills and tips that I've learned. And the idea being, as I say to them all on those things, that all I can do is try and switch your brain on to a thought process that's going to give you an advantage. I can't magic up skills and abilities. I can't answer every drama, every prepper, every survival situation, because they vary so much. It can be two guys on the same mountain on the same day in the same weather conditions. Okay, just the fact of the physiology of their bodies will change completely the dynamic of their situation for each one of them. There are so many variables. All I try to do is help people gain a bit of knowledge and confidence to look around and adapt their surroundings, their abilities, and their thought processes to what they need for themselves. Okay, I've taught firelighting skills to a gentleman with one hand. Okay, I've taught I've taught disabled people how to use brush cutters and chainsaws. I don't think there is a limitation in ability for anybody that wants to have a go, and I'm prepared to spend the time sharing what I've learned in the hope that it can help somebody else somewhere through life. And it is a constant. It's People often come on the courses with the view that the bushcraft and survival thing is literally just something for when you're out in the woods, something when you're out in the jungle, something when you're out there. And then hopefully the majority of them actually leave with that realization that it's a 24/7, 7-day a week, no matter what you are, mind process. Okay. Survival isn't just about being out in the boonies. It can be in the city centre. It can be walking into your hotel. There's something I do. I've had to stay in hotels several times over my life. The first thing I do on going into a hotel is I'll park up outside, go in, get my room, go up to my room, dump my kit, and before I open anything else, before I release anything else, I will go out of the room and I will have a walk round. I will find out where the fire escapes are. I will walk down the fire escapes. I will find out where the exits are. I'll go back to the room. I'll look out the window. Can I drop out the window? Is there a flat roof? Is there a way out that way? Once I've done that, which takes 5 minutes, no time at all, it's locked in my head. I know where the escape route is. So when I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and the building's full of smoke and the alarms are going off, I've got the advantage of knowing which way to turn when I go out of the door. It's the same thing with assessing people and crowds when you're traveling somewhere. I'm not comfortable in a city. I'm definitely not comfortable on a tube. What have I learned to do is to quietly just keep my eyes around me, keep my ears open, keep my eyes open. Right? Watch what people are doing, watch what's going on around me. Okay. A lot of those people have a better idea of the environment that they're within, but I'm sure as eggs are eggs. If it starts to look bad, I'm out of there. Yeah. So that's the process. It's like driving a car. When you do your driver training, you are taught as a learner to constantly be aware and assess the situations, the road conditions, and the other vehicles around you. Some of us keep those skills and abilities and we keep them up to date as we move forward. Hence, we tend not to get into accidents. We tend to be a bit more aware. We tend to give ourselves a bit more space for us and those around us. Okay. Others don't. And those are the ones that become the risk. Those are the ones that end up in the ditches and end up hurt. So to me, survival is 24/7, 7 days a week. It is hypervigilance, but you can't let the hypervigilance take over too much. Yeah, yeah. Definitely, definitely. Yeah. So yeah, that's how I work, and hopefully you've enjoyed this. I mean, I do these things not for the numbers. I don't do them for the making anything out of it. I mean, we've not made anything on YouTube in the last couple of months because we've not been particularly busy. But hey ho, I do it for a love and a passion, and in the hope that one person out there gets to think about joining in, trying something, using my thought processes, switches them on, develop their own technique, their own method. I'm not saying that I'm the be all and end all. It's just based on my knowledge and how I do it. And build your own method. Become your own expert. Yeah, develop your own techniques. These are just tips that hopefully can start people on a path to actually having a great, wonderful time. Oh yeah, yeah, we should. Skills and abilities should always be shared. It's our ancestors taught their children their skills and their abilities. They got passed on. There's a lot of indigenous organisations, groups, and peoples in the world that still share the thoughts and processes of their ancestors. We can't afford to lose them. Okay. They take very little to learn. They take very little to share. They take very little to be aware of, and they are a tool that you can carry in your mental toolbox for the entirety of your life. And there is, for me, no greater pleasure than sharing skills and abilities. I enjoy it. You know, I am a frustrated instructor, teacher. Maybe when I left school, if my education had been a bit better, maybe it'd been a route I'd have taken. No, no, I don't. It's a very good point, Gary. I don't have the answer to anything, and I'm always prepared for somebody to say to me, but have you tried it like this? Because that has happened so many times in my life that I've been demonstrating a method and somebody else has said, but I do it like this, or where I come from, we do it like this. And I'm always open to saying, show me. And there's been a couple of times where I've literally gone, that is genius. That is perfect. That is genius. And I've adapted that method myself because I don't think any of us ever has the answer. Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think we're all constantly learning, constantly developing. It's just a message from Kiwi. He's had a look. Yeah, just to let you know, I've got my canoe, a 14'6" canoe. Yeah, she's a nice one. I'll do a video on it when the weather sorts itself out and we'll get out. Hi, Natty. How you doing, mate? How you doing? Hopefully you're good. 2 hours and 15 minutes. Blimey, has this old fart been waffling that long? So, is there anything else anybody would like to see? Is there anything else that anybody would like me to go over? Is there any thoughts you've got? Any ideas? Anything you want to see on the channel, or anywhere you would like to see us progress? And what do you reckon? Kaz got me a patch. Yeah, beware old men in dangerous professions. I love that. Right, but that actually looks like a friend of mine. I'm pretty sure that was modelled on Yarps. That do look like Yarps, I'm sure. No, see him. I'm going to be like, mate, yeah, you've been making patches. But there we go. And again, beware of old men. They've usually got a world of experience behind them. Yeah, there's going to be... the candle doesn't come with an oil burner. Okay, so I'll find out from John where these are available from. So these oil burners, they're right. So I was looking at the Forest Fundamentals oil burner. Okay, the reason being that when the Forest Fundamentals oil burner's in there, you can put the cap on it. Okay, but these oil burners were sent to me by John. He actually sent me 4. They've got a small version as well, a short version, which is there. So like that. There we go, a little one. So he sent me those, and they work really, really well in it. So the point where I'm not going to bother with the Forest Fundamentals, because they're out of stock anyhow and they're expensive, but they work really, really well. I'm going to have to find, I guess, eBay or Temu's, probably somewhere like that. Right, do excuse me 2 seconds. I have just got to dive to the little boys' room again. I do apologise. Oh, dear me. Cold weather. Cold weather. It gets you. Oh. Where? Right. Yeah. We'll be together tomorrow night as usual. This was literally done right. In all honesty, you guys, I've got a contract coming up from the 20th, I believe, possibly a couple of days beforehand, and I'm going to be flat out for a couple of months. I will still be doing the Sunday night lives, and I'll be doing shorts and trying to knock things up. But I wanted to have a go at Kaz is crashed out. She's in a lot of pain with her legs. I would go up the woods this week, but the weather's been atrocious and I didn't really feel up to it, to be honest with you. Dived out yesterday, picked up the canoe, got back. I sat this morning and I thought, I've got a couple of questions people had asked me. There have been a couple of questions on Firelight and there have been a couple of questions on lives. And I thought, rather than just do a video, do it as a live. So I thought, give it a go. So these little candles, right? 4 candles are, thank you very much, John. Absolutely superb. Wick's a bit long in that one, hence a bit smoky. I could do with trimming that down, but I'll let that burn off. That's not a problem. Yeah, and I'm using a lamp oil on those. And let's have a look. We did a test earlier on. Let's have the lights out. Yeah, again, you see how much more light you get from that than you would from the candle. It burns a lot brighter, and then once it's been burning for a minute or two, they tend to drop the smoke because it shortens the wick up for you. Brilliant bit of kit. Let's have a light back on. There we go. The light back on over there. Yeah, brilliant bit of kit, and they do fit. Like I say, let me just move that to one side. Move that to one side. That to one side. 9-hour candle. 1 candle. Da, 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 da. There we go. And that is the oil burner in it. And that's the UCO with the oil burner in it, which obviously you wouldn't want to drop onto its side or anything like that. But it wouldn't be as dangerous. Well, actually, it should probably be okay. It would be controllable. You won't want to tip it upside down. But yeah, I mean, look at that. And chucking out heat, warmth. And as we said in the past, more importantly, almost than anything else, is being able to warm those fingertips. If you can get your hands working, then you can start sorting everything else. Broken the seal of doom. Yeah, absolutely brilliant bit of kit. Yeah, and again, the lamp oil works out a lot cheaper than buying the candles. Although I bought so I got a pack of 3 9-hour candles there, okay, and the one that came with it. So that was the original setup. Brilliant bit of kit. Brilliant bit of kit. What I am learning with these UCOs is hold that up, pull that down, blow it out. Poor old Jason, when I first showed it to him, I only had the candle in it, but it was burning about 10 minutes. And he went, what, you push that to turn it out? And there is a little fingerprint in the top there that you can just about make out. So, no, blow it out, Jason. So, but these little oil lamps are brilliant. I like those. And when we're thinking about it for camps and things like that, just the simple logic that you could pretty much stick a scented oil in there, which they do sell, as well as scented candles. You can get the scented oil, so you could put in there something that was citronella based to help keep some of the bugs, the nasties, away. And yeah, As simple as that. I mean, that in your kit, you know, it's just as a light or as just a light source or a heat source. And again, bear in mind, go back to that old technology, a candle. A candle in perfect conditions, the human eye can pick out a candle light at up to 15 miles. So that simple dot of light on the hillside can be a saving grace. It's brilliant, brilliant. Other things I've picked up in the last couple of weeks, well, there you go. Ain't cheap, but standard emergency rations, the old Seven Oceans. So why does Mickey have those? Those live in the vehicle because they are shelf stable, will last forever. So you try the smaller burner with the flat plate on top of the spring. Will do, mate. Will do. So there you go. If you've not seen them before, they are just an oatmeal block, basically a pressed oatmeal block, 9 to a box or 9 to a pack, 217 calories per block. Okay, and when you open them out, just use that. Vacuum packed, so take a little bit of opening. They come in their paper. Cut the tape. So, God dear. Would help if I'd. There we go. There we go. So they still shelf stable. Will last. These things will. These bloody things will last for months and months and months. I should put those back in there off camera when I've got time to do it. So 270 calories. Per portion. Okay. What do they taste like? Well, here's how I describe these. Shortbread. Shortbread biscuit with next to no flavouring. But what is their bonus? The bonus is they're shelf stable for pretty much eternity. They are a massive amount of calories for their size and weight in pretty much a lightweight form. In other words, it's not going to take a lot to pack it, carry it. I keep them in the vehicle as my SHTF supply because it's easy. Requires no heat. Now you can make porridge with these. So a little drop of warm water and mush them down. You can use them as a thickening agent as well. And they are quite pleasant. They're very sweet. I don't know. Never asked that question before. Do they burn? Let's find out. I would have thought so. Let's get my tray. No, not enough oil content in it. Not enough oil content in it, and it smells like burnt toast in here now. Okay, no good as a firelight native, but quite a pleasant little snack. Lots of calories. So, one of those things I like to have tucked away. Also in the vehicle, especially this time of year, not so much in the summer, but this time of year. So for work, I always carry my brew kit. And I've always got, because of the nature of the job I do, I can find myself going to work at 4 in the morning and still being there at 4 o'clock the following morning, or suddenly asked, can you transport this from Wales to Scotland and back again? So I always keep a couple of boiling in the bag meals and a couple of these hot packs, basically the self-heating bags, just tucked away in the back of the kit, like that, back of the bag, and that gives me at least 3 hot meals, especially this time of year. So it gives me 3 hot meals to put away, carry with me in the vehicle, and all it requires is water. Now, I often get people say to me, but what if you haven't got water, Mick? Basically, it doesn't matter. You can use ditch water if you needed to. Okay, you're not going to consume this water. You're not going to drink it. You're only putting in up to there in the bag. Okay, and your hot meal is sealed, hermetically sealed inside there. So there is, all you're doing is creating steam to heat the meal. So really and truthfully, it's an easy source, and I'm always carrying water. There's never any excuse especially here in the UK or the civilized world, not to have water with you. I get quite short with people that say, oh, well, I didn't have any water, because there's no excuse. It's for most of us, it's a bit of things we always carry. Right, there is accredited courses, and this is something that we've been, me and a lot of other people have been fighting against for a lot of years. Okay, accredited courses. The problem with course accreditation is, how do you run an accredited course? Well, so it means you've got to come up with a program. So if you take something like a chainsaw, I used to be a chainsaw instructor. I was a qualified chainsaw instructor. I had to go and use chainsaws for many years and then go and do a course to become an instructor. So the course for instructing starts with basic safety, maintenance, handling, testing, repairing, and then goes out into the woods and starts with a bit of cross-cutting and then a bit of felling, and you work your way up. And it's something you can do a system to. With bushcraft and survival, or survival especially, you can't do that, because survival is based on so many different variables. It's about the situations that you find yourself in, places you could be in. So we've always said the problem is, and there are organisations that are trying to set up courses and making it licensable, so that you can become a registered and licensed instructor, and it will then stop people like me sharing skills and abilities, because I won't be a licensed instructor. I won't be allowed to share my skills and abilities with you because I don't have the accreditation. How do you accredit survival? You know, how long would that course have to be if you were actually covering a lot of stuff? If you were trying to cover all the aspects of survival, how long's that course? Well, I mean, at what point do you stop? Do you do mountain survival, forestry survival, desert survival, open water survival, inshore water survival, fire survival, urban survival, practical survival, home survival prepping? Where does it end? So there's been a lot of us that said over the years, don't try and put that to it. Just have people out there. There are some very good instructors and very good courses out there. Some brilliant. Tom, Prepared Pathfinder, he runs some standing for courses. The Bug Out, again, some of they run some fantastic courses. Why? Because that's what they do for a business, and they, like me, are sharing their skills and abilities and try and base what you need on the day. If you come along and do an experience up the woods with me, the first question got for you when you get there is, what do you know? If you're already au fait with firelighting, if you already know all the basics of firelighting, if you've got that skill set already, what's the point of me teaching you something you already know? So then try and find something that I can share with you that you don't know, but also have a look at what you do know, so that I might be able to learn something from you. Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's just a way. It's a way of making money. A lot of these teaching organisations have realised over the years that actually having licensed registered instructors is a great way of making money, because you can charge somebody £400 or £500 to come and become a licensed instructor, so that they can instruct, and they can't instruct without it because they can't be insured. So it's easy money for them. But for the guy on the ground, somebody like me that's quite happy to share his skills, and I do quote that. I do say to people when they come on, you come on an experience up the woods, okay, then you're coming along to my woods to camp. You are coming along to my woods primarily to camp and share ideas. There is no liability. There is no, you're coming at your own risk. You're coming to enjoy yourself, have fun, and use my facilities, and so I can share my skills. Now, you might say, "Oh, Mick, that's a bit much." No, because I only charge for the camping. I don't charge for sharing skills and abilities. I don't charge for lending people bits of kit to try out. I don't charge for any of that. It's an idea of putting people in a position where they can come along and try things for themselves, try methods and ideas, and swap methods and ideas with me and others. Okay, it's as simple as that. Because I think people get more out of it. So I don't call myself an instructor. I have been an instructor, but I don't call myself an instructor. And at 60 years old, is it worth me spending all the money on insurances, liability, training courses, registration, and everything else for something I may have to give up in the next 5 to 10 years? I would never make the money back off of it. And I enjoy the informal side. I'm not sitting there, because again, this is the other problem. Once it becomes a certificated and a qualification, I can't sit there and say, what do you want to learn? What do you want to do? What are you interested in? No, I've got to start at the beginning, and I've got to say, section 1, this is a tree. Beware the widowmaker. Section 2, this is a plaster. And you end up spending half the day actually going through gumph that isn't needed. You know what a plaster is. Okay. If you don't know what a plaster is, you don't know the basics of first aid, then that's one of the things I'm going to find out when I'm chatting to you in the beginning. And I'm going to say, do you want to cover that? Do you want to? And so on. And it is, yeah, bushcraft is the same. Bushcraft is a hobby and a passion. People that do bushcraft do it because they have a genuine love of it. Everybody that I meet in the bushcraft world has different skill sets and levels and different bits that then there's so many different aspects to it. Some are masters of some aspects, normally based on their location, their environment. If you've got somebody on a heathland or moorland environment, they're not going to do hurdle making. But you get somebody down in Sussex, they're going to be more interested in hurdle making, hedge laying, and those sort of things. So it's how do you combine and weave those skills together to make something interesting for somebody. yeah, it's a very difficult thing. So I stay clear of that. I did a year or two ago. I had to sit down and have a very long thought about how I was going to make my living, how I was going to move on. Working in the movie industry has been my main source of income and allows me to care for Kaz because I'm a full-time carer. Sandwiches included on the course. I the yeah, and yeah, I'm just going to carry on doing my camps, doing experiences, but I'm going to do more about sharing with other people, coming out and just swapping skills and abilities. There's nothing official, like I say. You're not going to get a certificate, patch, a badge, an award. You're not going to get anything official, but hopefully, yeah, if you do want to do a course, there are many organisations out there that do very good courses. Do your research, look at the feedback that they've had, yeah, and have a look at it. I'm not going to knock any of them, apart from the Cowboys. Yeah. Oh, the cookery. Right, I've actually taken a bit of a crafty there on sharpening the cookery. Okay, so I'm trying to set up at the moment a bit of an afternoon with the Gurkha Welfare Trust over by me. Okay, I live in an area where there are many Gurkhas, and I'm speaking to some of their guys at the moment to see if they'd be interested. Because what I would love to do is an interview with a couple of the Gurkhas and talk about the cookery properly from their point of view, their perspective. What I have learned, which is quite interesting, is the sharpening of the cookery is a ceremonial thing. It is almost done like I won't say it's a religious act, but there's a lot behind it, a lot more than just sharpening the cookery, just running a sharpening down the edge. The cookery has multiple cutting edges on it that are adapted depending who you are, where you're from in Nepal, and what you used it for your day-to-day beans. That they were sharpened in many different ways, or have many different edges on them. As I said on the other video, which I'll make public in the next few days, it's also a cultural thing. Yeah, mine's not a genuine item. No, my cookery is it's a cheap one, to be honest with you. I say a cheap one, about 25-30 quid. It's a Highlander. That's my cookery, and you can see already on the profile of the blade the different cutting edges. Okay, and again, I want to be very. I've got a lot of time for the Gurkhas, and I want to be very respectful to it. So yeah, it's going to be one of those where I want to learn about it properly. I see many people with a cookery that have no idea of the historical, the cultural relevance of the cookery, how it's used, why it's used. A lot of people think of it as just an offensive tool. It's not. Where these originate from, that was an everyday tool. This was carried for many tasks. And one of the things I've seen recently, it was quite interesting, is seeing a Nepalese gentleman using it for making furniture and using it as a drawer knife. Part of the bonus of this shape is it can be used as a drawer knife, which I found fascinating. The word cookery refers to its shape, okay? And it's a blade of grass. That is how I've had it explained to me so far. And they come in, depending where you come from in Nepal, they come in many sizes and shapes, thicknesses and diameters. They all have that same sort of shape to them, but some of them are very long. Yeah, Nepalese Community Centre. Yeah, exactly that. You know where I'm going. So, yeah, it's a fascinating tool. It's a fascinating historical tool. It's got a lot of, I mean, don't get me wrong, down to the movie industry, the gaming industry, and that it's gained quite a prevalence. Um, but I just wanted to know the facts. What is the genuine thing? Before I even go out and use it, I want to know more about it. So, myths. There is a myth that a Gurkha soldier, whenever he draws his kukri, must get blood on it before he returns it to its sheath. Now, it's true and false. Okay, where did this originate? Well, the kukri for the Nepalese has been around for over 2,000 years. Okay, it's been a tool of their usage for over 2,000 years. They use it as an everyday tool. It's used for harvesting. It's used for carrying as a weapon. It's used for carrying as a tool to use in the fields. Okay, there is no usage of the kukri as in one specific use. It was their multi-tool. Now, basically, we had the East India Company went to war with the Nepalese. It wasn't the British government. It was the East India Company, a private organisation that was out there, trading organisation that flew under the flag of the UK or of Britain, and they went to war with the Nepalese and pretty much got their asses kicked. Okay, although nobody wants to admit it, they got their asses kicked. And the British Army, separate organisation, was so impressed with them that they sort of stood in awe. But not only that, the Nepalese, the Gurkhas, were impressed by the British soldiers. They're a warrior culture. Okay, to them, to turn your back and run from an enemy was a sign of cowardice. Okay, they would not um, back down. They wouldn't run. It was the worst thing you could do for them. It was a shameful thing. So they would literally fight to the end. And there was literally like a mutual agreement that you're good, we like you. And so they got asked if they would like to volunteer into the British Army, and that started a long history in the British Army. So this whole thing of blood cuts and all the rest of it. So you've got a warrior culture. Back in the 1800s and early 1900s, a lot of these Nepalese servicemen that were coming from a warrior caste, were, shall we say, not so disposed to just walking away from an argument. And so, to try and control the rationale, there was a rule set that if the kukri was pulled, it had to be blooded before it put back. That disappeared with time. That was never a Nepalese thing. That was a British thing. It was a way of trying to control anger and rage. It doesn't exist today, but it is something that has stood the test of time as one of the legends and myths behind the Nepalese. As a Nepalese friend of mine said, blimey, he said, if that was the case, he probably said, I'd probably be dead for the amount of times I've used a kukri in ceremony, in so on and so on and so on. He said, so at the end of the day, no. He said, we don't have to draw blood on the blade every time we take the kukri from the sheath. However, in combat, the kukri, once it's drawn, is pretty much going to get used, and it is going to get used well. Beyond that, I've got a lot more to learn. Yeah, the Gurkhas make an excellent curry, mate. I've got a lot more to learn, and I'm hoping, I'm really got my fingers crossed that I get to chat to some of these wonderful gentlemen and learn a bit more about it and a little bit more about their history and their culture. Okay. So that I can do it justice in a video. That's the truth of the matter. It's all about respect. Same as I would feel with any, and I hope if any of them are watching, they don't find this disrespectful. But any indigenous group, any culture that has a specific tool that I try to learn about, that I do them justice. Okay, because that's only right. It's if you're going to, I think for a lot of people, if you're going to own and use a cookery, you should understand and know its cultural significance, its history, and a little bit about it. I think that's rather than just have it because it looks a Gucci thing, you know, Gucci. Yeah, Gucci, or is it Ali? No, I think it's Gucci, not Ali. Nah, no, definitely Gucci. Yeah. Um, so that's how I see that. That's how I see that. Blimey, nearly 3 hours. God, blimey, it's a long life, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. I thought I'd like to do, Gary. That is what I'd like to do. I think it'd be Ali all the way. Ali as F. Um, yeah. So yeah, terminology, eh? Quite interesting. These little terms and phrases that have developed over the centuries and over the years. No chisel. Right, I think I'm going to wind it up there because I'm going to have the rest of my biscuit, make myself another cup of tea, and prep for tomorrow night. I do apologise if tomorrow night I end up going over some of this again. I doubt if I will, but I haven't sat down and really come up with a subject for tomorrow yet. Thank you for joining me. Help me, do something in the afternoon that I hope is going to help people. I'll put this live up on the channel, and it's there for anybody that's interested. Again, I would like to end this by saying, at no time do I condone any illegal act, whether it be against person or property with a bladed item. I do advise everybody to stick within the law and know the law wherever you are. And the laws, as I learned yesterday, are different all over the world. Okay? In some states in America, the knife laws are even more restrictive than the knife laws we have in the UK. Okay? So it's not always the picture we see and think. Just be sensible, be safe, have fun, get outdoors, have an adventure, know your local rules and regulations, keep your nose clean, have fun. Excellent. Guys, let's take it easy. Thank you so much for joining me. To Simon, Gary, John, Jason, Living Lavu, and everybody else that's out there. Three Dog Night, Bushcraft. Yeah, to everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Jess, Jess, you're just coming in as we're finishing off. Lovely. Yeah, it's been a long 3-hour live, this one. It's we've covered fire, we've covered knives, we've covered lanterns, we've covered a bit of survival food. I think, I was looking at the rules in New York and California. God blimey, it gets confusing. So hopefully that's given excellent. Always. So hopefully what we've put out there today answers questions that I've been asked. This is mainly what the live was. It was catching up on a couple of questions that other people asked. So yeah, it's take it easy, have fun, have an adventure, get outdoors, love those you do, forgive those you don't, and as always, may peace and light be upon you all. Oh yeah, they certainly are, John. They certainly are. It's and again, depending where you are in the world, doesn't it? You tend to find that a lot of metropolitan areas, big cities, and that the rules are a little bit stricter. Same here in the UK. You know, if I'm walking around with that in a rural area, nobody'd think nothing of it. And if I took it into London, I'd be in the world of poo. It's just a case of what do we know? Just know your local rules, know your local regulations, stick with it, work with it, be safe, be good. Anyhow, as I was saying before, I'm going to cut you all loose there. Have a great time, and I'll speak to you all tomorrow night from 2000 hours UK time on the Hampshire Outdoors and Survival, live from the pub. Take care, guys. Have fun. Be good. Love to everybody. This is Mickey, Hampshire Outdoors and Survival. Mickey out. I agree with you there, John. Definitely. Definitely.